Hello, everyone. Hello there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I am speaking to you now from outer space. As per usual, as per our usual alternative Sunday streams. How's it going, everyone? Hey, everybody. Hey, Arcadine. John James, new clock as a Christmas gift. Lovely. Gotta love a little clock as a Christmas gift. By Jove, yes. By Jove, yes. It is 7 p.m. in my time on a Sunday, and today we're going to be talking about some wargaming, some Warhammer, especially skirmish games, I think. I think Games Workshop have opened the door to that one. The fools. Hey there, Beauregard Equipment. Welcome, welcome. So, forgive me, everybody. Today has been a tough day for me. A lot of recording is getting done for the channel today. This weekend has basically been like recording central for me. I've been up since yesterday at like 8 a.m. recording two videos overall. There's the video that's coming out on Monday, Tuesday, the next video. That's been recorded. That is off to the editor. But alternatively, there's also another video that I recorded this weekend. A much bigger video, so that will be coming out in the next month or two. So I got all the recording done today. I literally been up since yesterday at like 8 o'clock, recorded all through the day, and then I was up again this morning at like 8 o'clock again, and I got that done literally like just a couple of hours ago. So my voice is already gone. So you haven't caught me in my prime here. Hey there, Dollface. Hey, Rock Golem. Hey, Anna Meister. Welcome, everybody. The Orc Inquisitor says, speaking of skirmish games, are you ready to get sidetracked? Maybe. Has everyone... Can you hear me okay? Is the audio sounding good? Awesome. The Anna Meister says, guess what idiot fell for the new contrast bundle and shade bundle? You did. Well, so the new contrasts, huh? So I'm a massive painter in contrast. I paint almost everything in contrast these days. Contrast paints, honestly, have like genuinely been one of the things that got me right back into painting. I was very bad at painting for the longest time. I had a lot of gray models, but contrast paints got me into painting. I think I've said this before, but most of my armies were completely unpainted. I mean, even now I'm still struggling to kind of work through my backlog. Because I got a big backlog. I got a lot of models. So contrast allowed me to just basically slap on a bit of paint and away I go. But honestly, I've started to grow a little bit dissatisfied with them. They're starting to look a little bit splotchy. It's why I'm not as excited in the new lines as maybe I would have been. If this had been a year ago, I would have been very excited, I think, especially for a purple. An actual purple that fucking functions. Dr. V with the $10 donation. Thank you so much for that. He says, have a good day out there, everyone. You too, Dr. V. You have a lovely day. Thank you so much. And Beauregard Quitman, welcome to the VIP section of the YouTube membership. Thank you so much for your support. Big patron there as well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Welcome to the exclusive emotes section. On YouTube, I've got emotes. I don't have them on Twitch yet. I'm getting them, though. I'm working on them. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for your support. It really, really means a lot. It really helps the channel go. But yeah, so I'm really excited to have an actual purple. That's honestly the thing that I've been most excited about contrast. Although, I must say, the advertisements for the new contrasts have kind of missed me a little bit. The pictures that they've been throwing out have basically been very vibrant colors, but with no real, I want to say contrast to them. It doesn't look like they get darker at all. It looks like literally the models have been base coated. So it's kind of a bit weird. I'm also not the biggest fan of how they have kind of changed the null noils either. I like null noil to be all splotchy and stuff because I love it on metal. I love using null noil on metal, on specifically lead belcher. It's really good. Or should I say bulk gunmetal? Who messes bulk gunmetal? Discourse does a lot. So I'm kind of worried a little bit about the new shades. Now, that said, I haven't caught like a ton of content. I know like Ninja and stuff like that have all been working away with them. They've been doing reviews. My biggest thing with the contrast paints right now is why have the pots gotten smaller? Why are they still being charged the same amount? It's just a price rise, right? I knew this was going to happen. I mean, I think the moment that you know that they're going to make any changes at all, that there's going to be a bit of a price rise. Absolutely ridiculous. They look just like ink, says Frozen Throg. There's like, I've been hearing more and more. I think in the last I want to say 2 months. I've been hearing nothing but inks. Everybody's going on about inks. See, I don't have my like finger on the pulse of paint stuff because I'm a rubbish painter. So I don't have my finger on the pulse of this sort of stuff. I'm all like, oh, what's the new miniatures coming out? People are like, have you heard about inks? I'm like, no, because I don't really paint, and I don't even look up guides anymore. I think the last paint guide I looked up was genuinely, I think it was some of the Star Wars Legion guides that Lackey did on Zorp Gaming. Genuinely, like the last guide I watched, because I just contrast everything now. I just contrast them. I'm like, I'm just gonna paint the color that is the contrast. Andre with the donation, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Hey, Discourse, Asmodeus here. Did you see the Squidmar review? I did not see the Squidmar review. I did see it. Came up in my feed because that guy he's got like a direct line to the YouTube recommendation system, to the algorithm somehow. I did see it come up in my feed, but I haven't watched it yet. I haven't had an opportunity all day. I've been busy all day recording, unfortunately. So I haven't seen it. I'm gonna guess he was a little bit critical of it. Squidmar is actually quite critical of Games Workshop products. I think it's because he's so big, he doesn't need to not be. I think Squidmar can get away with it, right? Because Squidmar's like, I can, like at this stage, he can probably buy Games Workshop the amount of money he must be pulling in. He does really well on YouTube. He has some very, very interesting content. I know that his Fiverr series are really good, where he gets painters to paint models for him on Fiverr, and then he compares the paint jobs. That's incredible. I kind of want to do that myself, but only I would be really bad at judging the difference. I'd be like, wow, this looks incredible. And then I'd open the next one, and I'd be like, wow, this looks incredible. And they would just all be incredible to me, because they're actually painted with normal paints and not with contrasts. But thank you so much for the donations, Asmodeus. I really do appreciate that. I'm gonna watch it soon. I'll tell you what my thoughts are on it. Whenever we next hang out on a stream, which will likely be some stage early next week. Inks, so 80s, says John James. Were they big in the 80s? Inks? Oh, see, I'm like, when it comes to the painting side of this hobby, I'm like such a noob. Like, I've been in this thing for so many years, but honestly, like, my paint education is some fella telling me to use Chaos Black Primer on all my Sisters of Battle, and then just like throw a wash on it, and there you go. Like, that's my non-metallic metallic. Do a little bit of dry brushing on your sword and you're golden. Steve says, but are the new pots just as spillable, more or less? I think they're just as spillable. I didn't realize that. I don't think the new pots have like changed in any way. I think they're still the same. See, I think they're still the exact same sort of pots, to be honest. Live long enough and everything comes back around, says John James. No doubt. It's all. I think that society works in cycles. Honestly, I think we work in cycles. Beauregard Equipment says, not to throw shade on any creator, but we now know who signed the NDA because they are the ones who got invited to the GW Paint Show. Well, there's different levels of NDA, right? So this is kind of interesting. I think it's kind of interesting. So between us, the NDA with Games Workshop, the one that was floating around earlier last year. So the one that was floating around last year that was being sent out to all the smaller creators and that was being signed by smaller creators that essentially prohibited them from being negative about Games Workshop products in their content and from revealing any of the information and prevented them from, I'm trying to remember the specific wording. It was, you can't get a potential customer at Games Workshop products. You can't convince them not to continue to buy Games Workshop products. Something like that, something to that effect. I don't think that that's being distributed anymore. I think that the NDA has subsequently changed. And I think a lot of the creators that would have signed NDAs to go to Warhammer World, because likely they would have, I don't think that those were the same NDAs anymore. But lots of people have signed NDAs with Games Workshop. Lots of them have. Anybody who gets any sort of product from Games Workshop at all will have signed an NDA. Dan Brooks, thank you so much for the membership. Oh my, I finally got your attention. He says, you always have my attention, Dan. You always have my attention. I try to respond when I can. I'm sorry. But yes, thank you for your membership. I really do appreciate that. Welcome. You know, you're holding out there on the advocate tier. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. I really do. Jason, thank you so much for your donation. Says, have another Pepsi on us discourse. Wishing you continued success in your advocacy and community building. Well, thank you so much, Jason. I shall. Although it is going to be It's a big bottle of American cream soda, because I'm a soda jerker gal. That's me. I love myself some cream soda. I really do. I love cream soda. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. It is funny indeed, damn. It is. But yeah, so the NDAs that we're going to be signed, that were signed by a lot of those creators, are very likely to be different, right? Like the sort of NDA that you would send out to someone, like, just to give you an example, like Miniac, would be very different from the NDA that you would send out to, like, Gary, the guy who has a channel that gets like 20 views and he does like an unboxing of the new Warhammer Underworlds box. Like they're going to be two very different NDAs, because with Gary, you can basically tell him to do whatever the you want, and Gary will kind of do it, because like Gary's getting like free product and he's got like no real platform and it's just a little bit of a hobby to him. It's fine. But if you're Miniac, like, this is your career, like, you actually really would concern yourself with editorial standards and whether or not you have to say certain things, right? It's why I've never signed an NDA, because I'm really serious about this, and I want to actually build a community. I want to actually be able to advocate for consumers. I'm not just like here to be like, I'm going to unbox the latest Games Workshop product, and then that's it. I'm like, yeah, I got a Games Workshop product. I don't care. I got the new box. I don't care about what happens. Like, that's not who I am. That's not what the channel is. But there are people out there, and that for them, that is what their channel is. Like, all they care about is just getting new products. So, I mean, I kind of go over this a little. I kind of talk about this, like, briefly talked about this in my latest video, if you've seen it, the one where I go over the most unpopular opinions. And I talked about that in there, that there's a very big difference, I think, between fan content and just, well, is there actually? So I don't know if there is actually a huge difference. I think part of the problem is that reviewers these days have become conflated with fans. You're expecting fans to be critical of content these days, which is not always feasible. Now, you do get reviewers, like, I think that, for example, Ash over at Guerrilla Miniature Games, he reviews a lot of content from Games Workshop. I think he genuinely does give it a fair shake. And he plays like a wide variety of games as well. But I think there are some channels out there that are literally they just cover maybe just Games Workshop products, and I think they struggle to be critical, for sure. Joseph says, ginger ale over cream soda, no competition. Oh my goodness, this is so incorrect. But I'll forgive you. I will forgive you. Clear cream soda, let's go, says Purple Dino. Yes, definitely. GM Serpico says, cream soda is calming, love vanilla or orange cream soda. I just absolutely love cream soda. I just love it so much. It's probably one of my favorite drinks of all time. Let's see. Charles says, there do seem to be some creators that do get merchandise from Games Workshop. From their content, do not seem to be on the slave list. Uncle Adam for one. Well, Uncle Adam will have likely signed an NDA of some kind. Like, if you need to get product at all from Games Workshop, then you will have signed an NDA, because NDAs aren't necessarily pernicious. Like, NDAs, all they ask of you, at the very basic foundation, the purpose and role of an NDA is, as a non-disclosure agreement, is for you not to tell anybody about a product that you have received early, and they serve a good purpose. They're very important for reviews. Because in theory, right, if we take Games Workshop out of the equation, if it's any company and they've created a product and they send it out to a bunch of reviewers, they want to control when those reviews go out. No, they might want to control that just for marketing purposes. Like, they want to get the hype. They want to maximize the hype in time. Or it might be the case that they're sending it out to people all across the world. Shipping times vary. Some people might get it like today. Some people might not get it till like next week or maybe a month or so. And it's not really fair on everybody. Just because I live closer to you and get the product early doesn't mean that I should get the first review. And importantly, that is the most important thing, right? That's the most important thing. Whoever comes out first with the review is the most important thing, because they're going to get all of the first people who are interested in the product. So you've got a huge advantage if you're first. So in order to mitigate this, what you will do is you will have everybody sign an NDA, which is basically a promise saying, I'm not going to show the review or talk about this product until the day you tell me to do so, which in theory is fine. My big problem with the Games Workshop NDA is that the ones that I saw, and I've seen other NDAs and they weren't all like this, but the ones that I saw that I had a problem with were laying it in with tons of additional language that went far overreached what you would expect an NDA to do. An NDA should just basically say that, like, I'm not gonna leak anything, right? But instead, their NDA was like, you're not gonna tell anybody you didn't like it. You're not gonna, and that's not an NDA. That's like, it resembled more like an employment contract. Like, hey, YouTuber, you know I work for Games Workshop. Like, I don't know about that, buddies. I don't know about that. So that was a big problem. So that was my major issue. So I'm sure that Uncle Adam has probably signed an NDA with Games Workshop, but I doubt that it was the type, because Uncle Adam is quite critical of a lot of content that he receives from Games Workshop. Like, he was very critical of Kill Team, to be honest. I watched his review of Kill Team, and I thought that he was very critical of that. Although I did see that he liked the look of Morok, which I kind of agree with him on, but I'm not sure if it was for the same reasons. I thought the Morok was kind of interesting, though I would never ever buy it. Which actually, I guess, leads us quite nicely into today's topic, where we're going to be talking about Games Workshop skirmish games, whether or not they're good, whether or not we should care about this new summer event, and what if we do, what might be happening at it. I think. Beauregard says, "I triggered Discord. Sorry, LOL." Well. Not so. Everybody's just obsessed. Everyone's just talking about cream soda. Cream soda is so good. Cream soda is so good, you guys. I'll broker no debate on this matter. I will broker no debate. If I tell you what, if Mean, who sell this cream soda, if Mean wanna lock me in to a very, very, very critical NDA. If they want to lock me in where I'm not allowed to be critical of cream soda at all, I'm in. Like, I will do it. I will do it. So long as I get free cream soda, then I am down. So I was thinking, so for those who don't know, Games Workshop have announced that they're doing this sort of skirmish event next week. I think it's some sort of marketing press event where they're going to be talking about a bunch of their skirmish games, and they're going to be essentially revealing a bunch of new products. I'm guessing maybe we're going to see some roadmaps. And they announced it alongside, they kind of announced a Kill Team Space Hulk thing that's going on. They sort of announced that. It was kind of like a soft announcement. They released a trailer for Kill Team that is heavily implying that it will be taking place on a Space Hulk of some kind. And I know that there has been some speculation that this is going to be perhaps Space Hulk, but in the Kill Team system. So I kind of wanted to talk about this because when I saw the Summer Skirmish event as announced by Games Workshop, I realized that actually, for as much as I have been a huge proponent of skirmish games, and as much as I have actually, historically, like in the past, I was a big fan of Games Workshop skirmish games, notably Necromunda. Over the last year or so, I think I have completely fallen out of love with them. I think that I have completely gone off Games Workshop skirmish games. And in part, I'm beginning to owe that to the fact that I have played a larger variety of skirmish games. And I just want to talk about that for a bit because I find it very interesting. I was thinking to myself, like, what could they release? What could they announce at this skirmish event that I would get really excited about? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is. Honestly, low-key, I think the only thing that would excite me about this new skirmish event would be if they were to say something like, "Oh yeah, by the way, and we're like doing something with battle companies for the Lord of the Rings miniatures game," and I'd be like, "Oh shit, okay, that's pretty cool. Actually, I'd be really into that." She'll bathe in the stuff, says John James. You guys are still going on about the cream soda. You're all still going on about the cream soda. The cream soda is good, all right. Cream soda is good, okay. Iron brew over cream soda, says James. Well, spot the Scot. Spot the Scot. Yeah. I've been in Scotland for a while, and y'all love your iron brew. Y'all love your iron brew. So Runcible says, yeah, Warcry will be next, but it's gonna happen. So, interesting with Warcry. Warcry is like the one skirmish game from Games Workshop that I have not played. And people keep telling me it's like their best one. People keep telling me Warcry is the best one. So I've never actually played Warcry. And it's funny because I kind of dig the theme of it. I actually sort of like the idea of it being this arena and you play a different Chaos Warband and you fight amongst each other. You've got all these very big themes in those warbands and you fight and there's lots of acrobatics and stuff. I kind of like the idea of that. But I just haven't gotten into it. I just, for whatever reason, I did buy one of the Skirmish, like one of the starter boxes for Warcry. I think I bought one. Oh, I think it's the one where there's lots of fire and lava. I don't know. It's been in storage now for months, so I haven't looked at it in a while. But it was on sale, and I bought it. It was on sale. Games Workshop did a sale there. Like I think it was a couple of months ago. They did an honest to God discount on their store, and I bought it. I bought a Warcry box because I was like, oh my god. This is like when Hades is talking with the Fates in the movie Hercules, and they're telling him that like once in every millennia the stars will align, and that's what Games Workshop were like. The stars are together. Open the gates, and suddenly Warcry is 50% off, and you're like, my god, I've never seen this before. You know, it's like one of those eclipses, or that comet, Halley's Comet, that flies by every 70 years. Every 70 years there's a sale. So I had to buy something. It was just the novelty of it was absurd. Digger says, in Hong Kong, we can get honeydew melon ice cream flavor soda. Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole a few weeks back, reading up on soda jerkers, of all things. And they were a great American institution. They were basically the bartenders of the youth. You would go to soda fountains, and you'd buy sodas, and the soda jerker would be like the bartender. He would like serve the sodas, and they're called soda jerkers because they gotta like jerk off the tap or whatever in order to get the cream soda going. And they're gone now because soda fountains are gone now. That's for no good reason, by the way. It was just like changing attitudes and culture. Just eventually they went away. So, you know, I'm just saying, look out. Japanese soda is amazing, says Luciano. Well, yeah. So I've never tried it. But yeah, so I haven't played Warcry. I've heard good things about it. I have been playing a ton of Carnivale recently, which really relies on mobility and movement, acrobatics, as a major component of what makes that game very, very special. And I think that what I've heard is that Warcry also does a similar thing where movement and mobility is like super important. But honestly, like the Carnivale system is really interesting. You can drown people in water. You're really encouraged to like leap from rooftop to rooftop and to jump from like boats onto floors, onto boxes, onto rooftops. You're super incentivized to do that because you don't actually make attack actions. Well, you can, but if you move into base contact with somebody, you get to make an automatic attack. So you're really encouraged to like run around a lot. Also, when you make a jump and you succeed, you can make a free jump right after that. So you're encouraged to like leap from rooftop to rooftop. It can get you a lot of movement. So you're really encouraged. Of course, you can fall off those rooftops and break your legs, which is always fun. So I wonder, is that similar to Warcry? I know that Warcry, basically, there are factions in it that are really big at like leaping around. Beauregard Equipment says, I have had a real jerk soda. They taste distinctly different from a regular Coke. There is one left in Indiana. I would actually love to go there. So I'm a big fan of Americana. I love to visit America. I'd love to visit it. Gigabachi says, Japanese Kit Kats. I've never had a Japanese Kit Kat, I'll say that much. In the grim, dark future of the 41st millennium, there is only soda fountains, says AC. Yes, I'd be down for that. I'd love to see, like, an AdMech, like, soda jerker. That would be incredible. He's just got, like, a bunch of, like, cream soda fountains, like, spurting out. It's getting very, I don't know, there's something really filthy about soda jerking, I guess. But, yeah, so what are you guys hoping for from this skirmish event, huh? What are you guys hoping for? Because I'm honestly not sure. Though I have some speculation as to what we will see, and I'm kind of afraid of it. Delicious cream soda. Delicious cream soda. So the big skirmish game from Games Workshop that I used to play a lot of would have been Necromunda. It would have been Necromunda, but I haven't played it in months, at least months, maybe longer than that. And to be honest, none of the new releases for Necromunda have excited me. I mean, I guess that's kind of wrong to say. They have excited me, but I haven't been interested in buying them. So for example, Ash Wastes was a huge miss for me, and I saw this coming all the way, and I kept on complaining about it to anyone who would listen, and Games Workshop did exactly what I would feared, which is to put the rules for Ash Wastes inside a massive $300 box filled with terrain, filled with 2 gangs that I don't collect, and we're like, here, you want the rules? Buy this. Yeah, I want the rules, but I don't want any of that other stuff. Why won't they sell that other stuff to me? So Ash Waste has been a total miss. So I haven't bought into Ash Waste at all, which means, therefore, I haven't bought any Necromunda products. And actually, the more I've been playing other games, the more I've started to realize that I'm not sure if I actually like Necromunda as a game. So I love the setting of Necromunda. I absolutely adore the setting and the world of Necromunda, and I think that that is the thing that has kept me hooked in to playing Necromunda for the longest time. But in reality, I don't think that the core gameplay system of that game or the loop is that good. I'm starting to really consider that. I've been playing a ton of Skirmish games, and every single game I play, I come out of, and I'm like, wow, Necromunda really wishes it was that game. And that's not great to be if you're Necromunda. Come to one of the big concerts, Beauregard Equipment, Origins maybe. I would love to. I'd like to try and maybe next year I'll be able to scrap together the money for it. It's a big trip going to America for me. It would be very expensive. So maybe I can get away with it. James Serapio says, I'm expecting a Cursed City expansion. Okay. So I wasn't expecting that, honestly. To be frank, I've written off Cursed City. I've written off Cursed City like so hard in my mind. Whenever the day that Cursed City died is the day that it died for me as well. Like, I haven't thought about Cursed City ever since. I guess, so what? Cursed City released. Lots of hype. Nothing. Game taken off. Everyone annoyed. That's when Cursed City basically died for me. Then they kind of talk about Cursed City's coming back. I was like, okay. Sure. And I haven't really thought about it since. Like, I just haven't thought about Cursed City at all. And I think it's partly because they haven't been pumping out product for it, maybe. They haven't been pumping out product for it. And I don't think that it was a very good product. Like, I think I think it was a fine product, probably, just because the sculpts in it were so beautiful. And people really liked those sculpts, and they had a lot of character. And they really evoked a lot of imagery from the old classic Warhammer fantasy. So people were really hyped about that. They're really excited about that. But I think in terms of gameplay, like, it has not stood the test of time. And by test of time, I mean like a couple of months. It has not stood up to it. As far as I'm aware, I've heard nothing but bad things for the combat system of Cursed City. I haven't heard a single person say, do you know what my favorite game is? My favorite game is Cursed City. I haven't heard a single person say that, which is kind of a little bit bizarre, isn't it? It's kind of a little bit bizarre. Cursed City should never have returned, says Hurricane Live. Now, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think that's kind of surprising, honestly. I think that it should have returned, mostly because Games Workshop lied to a ton of people in their marketing. They lied to not only to customers, right? Not only to consumers, but the other day on my video I did covering the sort of Miniac getting kicked from Warhammer World video, Brent from Goobertown Hobbies left a comment talking about how Games Workshop basically kind of screwed him over. Really, they screwed over him and a bunch of other content creators because they promised those content creators that Cursed City would be getting tons of support after launch. And so those content creators reviewed the game and they unboxed the game and they sort of built up hype for the game in their own videos on the assumption of things that Games Workshop told them. But really, Games Workshop lied to them. And Brand, the Goobertown Hobbies, was rightfully is quite annoyed at that, right? Really, that's actually burnt a bridge, I think, with him from the comment that he left. So I think that 100%, and we haven't really seen any content creators honestly cover any more Cursed City at all, which is interesting because I do think that the models are really good. But outside of maybe I've seen maybe a couple of skeletons or something get painted on Dana Hoyle's channel, but I mean she was just painting them incidentally to show off some other technique. I haven't seen any of them go off like anywhere else. I enjoyed Curse City, says Swarzy. Honestly, I don't hear people talking about it. I don't hear people talking about it at all. Damprick says, Hero Quest, I saw an example of in a South London gaming club. Alex Knott says, I think Mordheim will return. It will give Games Workshop some indication of popularity for Warhammer Fantasy, the old world. Now, that is interesting. That is interesting. Now, here's the thing about Mordheim. I think I'm going to upset some people here, okay? So, I apologize in advance, but I think I am going to upset some people here when I say this. I don't think anybody actually will enjoy Mordheim. I've heard. Okay, so let me caveat this. Let me explain. I really love the idea of Mordheim. I enjoy the video game Mordheim. I love the idea of going into this broken down city. I played a little bit of Mordheim. I enjoy going into this broken down city as a skirmish warband, as some mercenaries or some skaven, going in trying to collect warpstone, having a ball of a time. But I think in practice, the game Mordheim is not really good. Like, I don't think that people realize that Mordheim, in terms of game design, is very old and isn't really... It doesn't stand up to existing games in the marketplace anymore. Like, I really feel like if you want to play Mordheim, you could probably just reskin Frostgrave or something. I know they're different, but... I don't know, like, I think that if someone like Joe McCullough was, like, in charge, maybe then I'd be like, okay, we're getting ourselves in Mordheim here. Oh, baby, we're gonna get some Mordheim gameplay. But I'm not sure if they just try to recreate Mordheim as it was, I don't think it'll stand up to wear, honestly. Swarzy says, I'll stop playing Necromunda when Mordheim returns. Yeah, see, this is the kind of thing, because I kind of enjoyed Necromunda, but then I started playing a lot of other games, and I was like, actually, Necromunda, there's a lot of feels bad moments in Necromunda, and you kind of have to twist the system. You have to do a lot of house rules in order to get the system working, and there's so much imbalance in it, and there's so many rules, and for no real good reason, and the rules are written badly, and there's all these kind of, like, open questions, and it's not very intuitive. And that's not every game, you know? That's not every game. That's not like something that you should just expect from a skirmish game. Like, I feel like the marketplace has gotten better now. There's too many games. There's like too much competition now from really good games to just get away from that. I think anyway. Now, Uncle Buck says, I love Mordheim coming back as more of a Rangers of Shadowbeep / Frostgrave style, and that I could be into. That I could really be into. Because Mordheim is a perfect setting for that style of game. Like, you've got this city where a warpstone meteor has totally landed in. The city is cursed. It's awful everywhere. Like, tell me, is that not an evocative setting for some sort of scenario-driven game? Maybe even randomized scenarios, where you're going in and you're fighting kind of Skaven. I mean, okay, hold up. Like, what if instead of, you know, like hero-based games, like Curse City, where it's kind of meant to be sort of evocative of Hero Quest, what if it was a game more similar to Frostgrave, where it is, or Frostgrave, or like 5 Rangers of Shadowdeep, as you say, or 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, where you're going in with this warband level, and you're fighting these sort of monsters and co-op AI. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool. I think it could be a really interesting game. I would be up for that. And I think part of the thing is, as well, is that ultimately a lot of this doesn't matter. Like, I don't think Games Workshop's top priority is to make a fun game. I think their top priority is to make a game that will sell well. And I think Mordheim will sell well. I think Mordheim will sell well on the back of the sort of IP, really. Because I think there's a lot of people who are excited for Mordheim. I do think, like, even just the concept of playing Mordheim again, like, I would be tempted by it. And I'm very skeptical of the original core gameplay loop of Mordheim. Like, even I would be like, okay, sure, I'm in. Because I love the idea of Mordheim, and I really want it to work. Like, 100% I want it to work. Blood Bowl is still fabulous, says Dan. Yes, in theory, I haven't played the miniatures game. I've only played it in PC game format. Only then. Matt asked me, so what would you recommend in place of Necromunda? Okay, so here's the thing, right? So the thing that I love about Necromunda is the setting. And you're never going to get that in any other game. You're never going to get the Necromunda setting in any other game, really. I struggle to think of a game that sort of does that setting as well. But on the other hand, if you're looking for the gameplay, like good gameplay, specifically, I think Necromunda has always skated by on this idea of, oh, it's so random, like, you don't know what will happen, right? Like, things are kind of brutal, your dudes are kind of liable to die. there is a chaos on the battlefield. And I think the games that I've played so far where I've kind of felt like that have been Lunar and Carnivale, for two different reasons. With Lunar, it has felt very much like how Necromunda kind of wishes it was, because the core gameplay of that is you're desperately trying to pick up moon rocks. So you're trying to gather this object, and your opponent is trying to do so as well. And you do have an inventory. It's a small micro skirmish game, but here's the thing. You can drop items. Specifically, when you get bumped, you get thrown to the ground, or you get bopped on the head, you like drop your items and stuff. And it becomes this slapdash game of trying to acquire items and run away back to your deployment zone, and your opponent desperately chasing after you. Like, for example, you can bring like a hammer with you, right? And the hammer's really good for digging. It's like a digging axe, you know? But you can throw the hammer. And because people are in these spacesuits, it takes place on the moon, everyone's in these astronaut spacesuits, you have a line of vision. So you can see like this. And if something hits you outside of this line of vision, so from behind or the sides, you can't defend against it. So if you're running away with all the moon rocks, I can chuck my hammer at you. You're going to get hit in the back of the head. You're going to fall. The moon rocks are going to go flying. Then I'm going to run over. I'm going to use up a bunch more of my activation points, my oxygen points. I'm going to gather up as many moon rocks as possible. And then I'm going to run for it. And then you're going to go after me. And there's something very inherently chaotic about this gameplay loop that I sort of feel like Necromunda would love to have, right? Where these gangers are desperately trying to hold on to all these objects and get away with it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Whereas I've had moments in that game where it's been absolutely ridiculous, where we're firing guns off at each other and people are getting blasted everywhere and their suits aren't tearing. People are like grappling each other and like falling off the sides of buildings, or making these big massive gravity leaps, you know, because gravity's lower on the moon. Making these big massive jumps over things, failing and dropping the rocks everywhere. And they feel like moments that I would kind of expect to have in Necromunda. But honestly, most of the events that occurred in Necromunda games for me were, oh, I got shot at. I jumped to the ground. Let's see if I can make my stand-up roll. Oh, I did. Oh, good. I'll charge you and I'll try to melee you. Oh, sorry, I'm out of activation points. I can't melee you now. My bad. Oh, I did get into melee with you. I'm gonna roll my die. Uh-oh, I rolled a 1 again. I guess I fail. The end. Like, it just doesn't... Necromunda itself does not lead to the moments that the fluff and lore suggests of it, in my opinion. For example, I had a friend who was running... I mean, this is how you know I hate Necromunda. I had a friend who was playing as the... Not the Orlok. Oh, God, I've forgotten the name of them. Oh, goodness. I need to search this up, because they're infamous. They're the shooter guys. They are the shooter guys. Van Saar, of course, Van Saar. Fucking Van Saar. I play Escher, by the by. I was up against a Van Saar gang, and their leader just had a melt-a-gun, and he would just melt at people. But he would fail half the time. Like a third of the time, he'd miss anyway. And he's like a 2+. So, like, who cares? So I don't feel like Necromunda leads to the kind of moments that I kind of want from the game. Festo says, I think Games Workshop needs something you can use your 40k in Necromunda, as in that mimics original Rogue Trader and second edition, a few squads and a tank. Honestly, I mean, I feel like they should probably have had a skirmish version similar to the way the Star Wars Legion has a skirmish version, where it's basically the Colosseum game, but it's just smaller. And they kind of had that in the original Kill Team, right? Not the original Kill Team that I first played, and I still always think of whenever I think of Kill Team, but the sort of second edition of Kill Team. They did have that sort of in a way, but I feel like they should have just gone a little bit bigger with it. Like, I think there should be combat patrol games. I think that should be supported more. Definitely. Silence Alpha says, the core systems of Necromunda are basically unchanged, and it really shows. Yeah, and instead of maybe thinking about the core gameplay loop of Necromunda and how they can make it more fun, I feel like what the designers did, because they were mandated to do this, was just to overlay it with more systems. Oh, well, the Escher can get poison stuff. Are you having fun yet? Oh, well, the Van Saar get a bunch of different suits and things like that, and they get the gene splicing. Are you having fun yet? No, I'm not. Just because off the table, I could add all these bonuses to my guys, or I can do the gene smithing with the with the big strong guys. It does not mean that I'm not having fun in the game. That doesn't mean I'm having fun in the game anymore. And it's just more system. It's just more bookkeeping to track. And I bought so many of those gang books, and I really regret it now. I'm like, no, I've just got a bookshelf full of all these like special rules for gangs that I'm never going to play. But I kind of felt I should have it because I was the invigilator for our campaign. I felt compelled to buy all these books so that I knew how everything worked, and it was pretty rough. Honestly. And then they come out with Ice Wastes, and like, I wanted to run over people with my car. I think that would be really fun, but is it just going to be Necromunda where there's like vehicles and stuff? Because I'm not sure if that's what I want. I want a game where it's all about what it's meant to be about. Because there's skirmish games that already simulate the idea of people shooting at each other. There's like dozens of games that simulate that. But I want a game that will simulate the idea of me being in a car, driving at one another and doing like a Mad Max thing, trying to take over trains and stuff, right? Like, I want the game to have a creative vision, and I want them to execute that vision well. My problem with Necromunda is their vision was, let's kind of do that old skirmish game we used to do. And as much as I love the setting of Necromunda, I've just started to go off that a little bit. I'm starting to rethink my love of the actual core gameplay loop. Uncle Buck says, I dislike that they made all the gangs more civilized. They used to be so trashy. I agree with you there. I love the trashiness. I love the trashiness of the gangs. Like, and it goes to a lot of things. Even the fact that gangers now come with armor. Although I think they actually got rid of that in the new gang books, in the new gang house books. For example, I played my Escher gang, but they weren't House Escher. I had them, they kind of like homebrewed to be like their own little street corner gang. Gaslands is scalable, says William, but Gaslands uses the the toy cars, like the Hot Wheels cars, right? Which kind of I was never really super into. Like, I do like my hard plastic, I like my resins, I like those sorts of materials. I'm not sure I would really enjoy crafting a Hot Wheels car, honestly. Slimer Dimer says, I want to run someone over with my car. Top quality content. Well, thank you very much, Slimer. Definitely 100%, right? But I do want to do that. Like, I think that would be a ton of fun. Gorka Marga is obviously what you want, says Dan. Well, yeah, I do. I kind of love the janky idea that you can have as many guys in your transport as you can physically fit. I think that is a ton of fun. I think that's very cool. But I'm not sure if I'm not 100% sure if how well it will stand up, because really, Gorka Marka, isn't it very similar to how Ash Waste is now? See, I never played Gorka Marka. I never played it. So I don't really have the nostalgia for Gorka Marka either. I have like a little bit of nostalgia for Necromunda because people at the Games Workshop store that I used to play at used to tell me stories about Necromunda, and I've read a few online campaign stories about Necromunda that sounded like a ton of fun. So I had like a little bit of residual sort of nostalgia that I cribbed off other people. But I don't have any of that for Gorka Marka. No one really talked about Gorka Marka when I was around. But sure, by all means, I'm happy enough for it to come back, so long as it's a good game. So long as it is a good game, I am happy with that. And to be honest, I think that for this new Skirmish event, I think that you're probably right, actually. I never thought about Curse City. I think that Curse City will probably get some sort of expansion announcement. I could see that. And I think that this Kill Team Space Hulk is going to be revealed. That's going to be revealed without a doubt. I think we're going to see... I don't think that it's going to be Space Hulk. Like, I think that it's going to be Kill Team. But I think it's just going to be set on a Space Hulk. I don't think that it's going to be, like, an attempt to recreate the Space Hulk board game at all. Gorka Morka is Ash Waste theoretically, says Festos. Silence Alpha says, the AT terminals take care of a lot of bookkeeping though. It's the best game GW have done in years. I'm super into it and you should be too. Join the Maximal Fire YouTube Discord server. AT terminals. I'm not sure what that is. Edmund says, as many men in your transporters will physically fit seems to get you pretty excited. It does. It does get me pretty excited. I'm not going to lie about that one. Ash Waste has the same rule for how many you can fit in a truck. Oh, does it? See, I don't know that, John, because the rules don't exist for me. They're $300 to buy the rule book. No, I don't want to sound like I'm like yelling at you specifically, John. I don't mean to sound snippy with you personally. It's like not your fault. But it's just that it's true. The rule book is $300 and I can't afford $300. I don't know what's in the Ash Waste rule book. So I've been asking them on their Twitter. Hey, when does the rulebook come out? And people are like helpfully kind of being like, oh, thank you so much, Charles. Thank you so much for the donation. Mordheim forever. Hello, Discourse Miniatures and friends. Very well, Charles. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, okay? I would like Mordheim to come back, cause I'll say this much, okay? I just spent 2 days recording a video basically going over every single faction in Warhammer Fantasy, okay? I fucking love Warhammer Fantasy, and any excuse to be playing in that world, in the universe of Warhammer Fantasy, I am totally down for. I am 100% down for. I just want the game to be good. And increasingly, I'm growing nervous that I'm not sure if it will be. But thank you so much for the donation. I really do appreciate that. Look, Mordheim itself has an awesome concept, an awesome gameplay idea, and I think it could be executed really well. And I would be excited for a co-op game. I think it's kind of the perfect excuse for Games Workshop to really dabble in a skirmish level co-op, like AI against the AI game. I think it would be a really good excuse for that. I mean, even if they crib a little bit from like Vermintide 2, introduce some characters, some larger than life characters, leading a war band into Mordheim to take Warpstone. Maybe there's a little bit of competitive element between you and your enemy / ally. Maybe throw in some like AI, like Skaven and stuff. I think that could be a ton of fun. I think that'd be a really fun game. But thank you so much for the donation. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I've been kind of like going on the Warhammer community Twitter account and asking them, like, when is the Ash Waste rulebook released? And I keep on getting responses of, oh, it's already released. You can get it inside the Ash Waste box. And my response to that is, oh, sorry, I don't want to spend $300 on a big box set full of like models I don't want. Is there a way to buy the rulebook separately? Silence. Crickets. Crickets. Absolute crickets. And I was kind of worried that they would do the same for Horus Heresy, but hats off to Games Workshop. So they didn't do that. Bare minimum achieved. I think I applauded them before for this. No, I think they got a single clap before. Well done. They've also, but in fairness, they have also started releasing some free scenarios for Horus Heresy, which is good, which I am pleased to see. So they have, I really suspect, so Horus Heresy has been weird. Like, just as a brief aside, Horus Heresy's been kind of weird. Games Workshop have indeed been attempting to create, I think, the atmosphere of a sort of consumer-friendly activity. Like, they've definitely, I think 100%, Horus Heresy is designed as a sort of net to capture all the people who are falling out of 40k. Horus Heresy is like the, oh, you don't want to play 40k anymore. You want an actual good miniature war game, but you don't want to play 40k anymore. Okay, I got you, fam. How about Horus Heresy? See? We're gonna tell you that we got value, and we're gonna give you as much value as a Games Workshop product can have. And we're gonna release like free stuff, and we're gonna do all these kind of, and we're gonna do a roadmap. We're gonna EPUB the books. The rule book is actually being released digitally. Great. And it really does feel like it's kind of like this game that's like the bare minimum, just enough that will grab as many people as possible who are sort of disillusioned, who are alienated from modern 40k. Which on the one hand is good, right? Because that's that cream soda. Which on the one hand is good, right? Because, well, there are people who want to play in the 40k setting. There are people who really like 30k, and they deserve to have a good game, like, for sure. But I can't help but view it cynically these days. And maybe that's my own. Maybe that's wrong for me. But I can't help but just view it cynically. Games Workshop have burned me too many times. Dan Brooks says that he did his like at the start of the video. Well, thank you so much, Dan. I really do appreciate that. James Rubio says GW needs to rebrand to FOMO Box Shop. Yeah, they really, well, yeah. So at least they're no longer made to order, but obviously they still engage in FOMO. Just because you can buy it when it comes out doesn't mean it's not FOMO. The entire purpose of these massive box sets is to generate FOMO, because FOMO is a social thing. Alan Reed super chatted. 10 pounds. Thank you so much. Very pleased to see that Discourse Miniatures Media Company are maintaining their editorial independence. Long may this continue. The new GW squats are great to paint despite their new scale. Oh, they're great to paint, are they? Says Alan. Well, Thank you so much for your donation. I really do appreciate that. And it's because of the only reason why I can kind of keep my editorial independence is because of crowdfunding, because of crowd support, Patreon, super chats like this, the top chats on the streams and things like that. So thank you so much, guys. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to spend like 2 days literally just filming a single fucking video. But thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. I'm very curious. So they're good to paint, are they? They looked interesting in the paint, so they were very reminiscent of Space Marines, certainly. I mean, I'm on record on my opinion of squats, and honestly, I haven't changed at all. My opinion of squats is still pretty the same. I think that they will work fine as a sort of generic force. I think they'll work well in Stargrave, honestly. I think they'll look good in Stargrave, but I don't know if they really work for 40k for me personally. I'm not a big fan of the aesthetic. They look a lot like Terran Marines to me, and I like the Terrans, but I like the Terrans because they're like southern accented cigar smoking Americans. Really, I mean, that's the Terran Confederacy, right? So they have a lot of personality, and I'm not sure about the squats yet. The lore for the Leagues of Votann have been interesting though. Oh, unless you're talking about the real squats. Unless you're talking about the prospectors from Necromunda. Is that what you're talking about? Because those guys looked really cool. I actually really like the look of those. They have a lot of personality. I actually really like the look of those guys. They look really fun. The Animeister says, I got those contrast bundles because of FOMO. When I tried it initially, it told me they were all sold out. So I clicked the email. When it comes back, it came back a few minutes later. Oh my, how convenient. You got to be careful of those bundles because you end up spending a lot more money than you otherwise would do. And there definitely happens with paints where you kind of imagine you're going to need all these shades, but you don't really. Like, I think the only shade I'm going to probably buy of the new contrast paints is probably the purple, maybe the purple, and that's only because I might be using purple. But I don't know. I might be taking a hold. I might be going on hold with the contrast paints. Honestly, I might then again, I might review them. And I think the first thing I'll say is, the contrast paints have gotten smaller, and the prices haven't gone down. That's not good. That's not very good at all. The contrast are contrast paints. Like, what did you expect? But also the price hasn't changed, and we've got a lot less of them. That's not good at all. Like, just saying, it's not great. Although obviously I've been beaten to the punch, right? A bunch of people have got their paints early. Principal says, I'm a big fan of dwarves, so I like the squats, but I'm hesitant of the aesthetic shown also. I like the dwarves, and I like the dwarves specifically in Warhammer Fantasy. I'm not like the biggest fan of dwarves generally. I like the dwarves in Warhammer Fantasy because they got a thing going on. Like, they have a bit of personality. They're very alien in how they think compared to humans. They're very different. In fact, oh, you're gonna get me talking about Warhammer Fantasy, guys. Please don't get me talking about Warhammer Fantasy. I could be here all day. One of the things that I really love about Warhammer Fantasy, oh god, you got me started. It's like when I have like a single beer, and you're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I like to talk about Warhammer Fantasy. Like, oh yeah, why do you like that? And I say, okay, have you heard about the Gear Wars? So, Warhammer Fantasy, one of the things I love about the setting is that the different species, the different races, right? The elves, dwarfs, and humans, they're all very different from one another. They're very alien from one another. Elves do not act the way that dwarves act, nor do dwarves act the way humans act. And dwarves are often depicted in fantasy media as being very similar to humans. Oh, they're kind of small. Oh, they kind of like digging. You know, they gotta dig. They love that. They love ore. They're kind of angry. They're sort of a bit ornery. Oh, those classy dwarves. But otherwise, they're basically humans, right? They just love a bit of brew. But in Warhammer Fantasy, they're weird as hell. Like, they're weird as hell. Like, they've got different brain chemistry from humans. Because, fun fact, I've been talking about this. I've actually mentioned this like 3 times now, I think, on my Twitch stream. Which, by the way, I have been doing quite a lot of twitch.tv/discourse games. If you are enjoying the streams, I do stream on there. Basically, when the mood strikes me, which is so far been almost every single night of last week. I play a lot of video games there. But in any case, I've talked about this before, but the dwarfs in Warhammer Fantasy, they feel shame, right? Like, everybody feels shame. Well, some people don't. GW executives, I'm looking at you. Oh, got him. But, yeah, so the people feel shame, right? But when you do something embarrassing, when you do something that you feel shame about, over time, that feeling kind of diminishes unless you're lying awake one night you can't get to sleep and all those most embarrassing things come straight back to you. You're like, I'm never gonna get to sleep now. Well, for dwarfs, it never goes away. That feeling of shame never goes away. It doesn't leave. They always feel as ashamed as they do in the very moment that they commit the act. And for dwarfs, therefore, their word is their bond. Like, when they say something, when they take an oath, it is the most important thing in the world to them. And if they break that oath, it is overwhelmingly shameful. And that will last forever. For the rest of their life, they will feel maximum shame. And this is why dwarfs bear grudges so much, because they have a long memory. They don't forget the emotional feelings that they have from those things. It's a very emotional reaction. Dwarves are very emotional in Warhammer Fantasy. It's not appreciated, but they have this emotional feeling that they find it difficult to deal with. And that's why they write the grudges in the book. It's a way to manage this feeling. And that's why when a dwarf breaks an oath, they will often swear the Slayer Oath. The Slayer Oath is basically, they shave off their beard in contrition, right? Because the beard is the most important thing to a dwarf. So they shave off their beard in contrition, they shave their hair into a mohawk, they remove their armor, and they go out into the world to seek a righteous death. It's just suicide ideation from dwarves. It's just how they go. They're off to die, basically. Their goal is to die, but to do so in a way that helps the maximum amount of people. They take this oath to slay monsters, to fight battles, to face unwinnable odds in order to face contrition for that shame, because they will always feel the maximum amount of shame. They can't handle it. They just can't handle it. They can't bear it. And I think that's fascinating. That's not how humans operate. Humans don't operate that way. Wandering Walrus, thank you so much for the donation. Thank you so much. Can I see your painted miniatures? He said. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what ones you want to see. Depends on what ones you want to see. Let's see. What do we got here? We have a bunch of different minis. I got some Gene Stealer cultists, if you're interested in that. I got a Gene Stealer cultist here. Got some of these guys. See, a lot of my minis are actually in storage. So what I have on me are my Gene Stealer cultists. I have my Gene Stealer cultist army. I have some Beastmen, if you want to see those guys. I got my Beastman. I love my Beastman. I love these guys. They're so good. I think it's hard to kind of see with the light. Yeah, you can tell that I haven't, this isn't I'm not very good at that. But yeah, that's my Beastman. I got like a bunch of those guys. I got a bunch of stuff. Honestly, I got my Dark Eldar here. I've still got my old sisters who were featured on the channel before. I brought those guys with me, or gals, I guess. I got a bunch of those. Definitely. I'm not sure I mean, I've got like a ton of them. So I have Magnarax here. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll show you my Poison Ivy. Because I'm actually quite proud of her. I'll show you my Poison Ivy. I think this is a really good model. Oh, she's green. Of course. She's Poison Ivy. She's wearing all green. Yeah, so there you go. Stars, huh? Stars. But that's an awesome model. I really love the Poison Ivy model. I think it's very cool. Yeah, that wasn't my finest moment, I guess. I have like all my Batman minis there. I've got my Mythic Americas as well. I've got a bunch of bolt action. I have my Dark Eldar. I have my Gene Stealer cultists. I have some more Mythic Americas. I got some orcs. And right now, I've got some Star Wars Legion stuff as well over there. I've got some cis droids. And right now, this is what I'm painting at the minute. I'm painting a priest. This is a member of the Vatican for Carnivale from the starter set. He's just a priest with a club. Just a fellow with a club. And I really dig that. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of priests with clubs tapping the menacing like, oh, you're gonna get it now. The thing I love about the Vatican in Carnivale is everybody hates them. They're like, oh, you're party poopers. Like, leave us alone, dude. We just wanna party and have fun. Like, leave us be. And they're like, no, you gotta pray to God. You're gonna have to pray to God, whether you like it or not. Beastman rules, says Festo. I still run them proxy in 40k. Beastmen do indeed rule. They are not appreciated enough at all. But thank you so much for the donation, Wandering Wallace. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. I'm still overwhelmed by the support. Honestly, I really am. The Glens Up says, "How did you get that cool star effect on Poison Ivy?" Haha. Yes, I painted it very well. I did all of that myself. Honest to God, it was just that. The trick is to only ever use or show the model or play with the model when there is a green screen effect on in the background. Haha. So a very limited sculpt. I can't bring it out everywhere. William Egg says, instead of Grey Knights, you get to play Word Bearers, your corpse worshippers. I think Word Bearers are who I would play in Horus Heresy if I were to play Horus Heresy. I think I mentioned it before. Something about all those books. But yeah, I love Warhammer Fantasy. And I really like the factions in Warhammer Fantasy. And there's so many little bits. There's so many, oh god, we're just talking about Warhammer. See, you started me on Warhammer Fantasy. There's just all these little bits of Warhammer Fantasy that just I love. So, for example, there was a time period of absolute chaos in the Empire because the Emperor Dieter attempted to raise the taxes on beer and sausages, and this caused widespread riots and looting throughout the entire Empire. Marienburg declared its independence, of which it has never been rescinded. It was just absolute chaos. Dieter was deposed and a new emperor was put in because he tried to raise the taxes on sausages and beer. And it's those moments, those like political moments that I think I miss in Age of Sigmar, honestly. Age of Sigmar is all very epic. And I'm not sure, I don't really like that in a fantasy setting. I like my fantasy settings to be very mundane and banal in a lot of ways. Tarminal with the donation, thank you so much. Little tribute for good work. It all helps. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. I really do. Oh, it's getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here. Can you guys hear the fan? I have a fan going. So let me know if you can hear that. But it all helps, Terminal. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really do. God, where was I? You've got me started on Warhammer Fantasy. Now I'm just gonna talk about Warhammer Fantasy all night. So you've messed up. You've screwed up. You've been asking me. You've got me talking about Warhammer Fantasy. Oh God, you fools. Piotr says, it is not a question of interest. My hobby money is $20 per month. That's rough. I would honestly, if you've got $20 per month to spend, I would recommend you don't play a Games Workshop product. Like, honestly, like I would recommend that you play, I think for $20, what could you get? You could get some, Reaper models are pretty expensive. Excuse me. I think that I would probably suggest maybe some Osprey games. Maybe some Blue Book Osprey games. I have been checking out Frostgrave. You could build a Frostgrave force for very cheap. Although, you kind of need to get an extended roster of models as well for that. I think that Games Workshop is you're gonna really struggle. Because you can get like one model. You can get like one model out of that. like a single captain or something like that. War of the Sausages, says Runcible. Yeah, right? It's pretty tough. Runcible, Sigmar Sizzling Sausage. Yep, it's tough. It's tough. Dystopia 1984 says, my dispossessed 2,000-point army's backstory when questioned why too clean. They dug deep after the end times and re-emerged after. I do like that. GM says, Age of Sigmar is very gods versus gods. Yeah, that's not what interests me at all. Honestly, I like man v man. I like man and man. Ooh. No gods, please. Just mortals. I do like my mortals. William Ing says the Grimblades is a fun book set in that time. I haven't read that. Ooh, I haven't read that. Honestly, I think I'm going to start rebuilding my Empire Force whenever I get all my fancy models out of storage. I think I'm going to do. So I got two upcoming Warhammer projects I'm going to engage on. And interestingly enough, both of them are pretty old school. So I think, first of all, I'm going to rebuild my Witch Hunters. My old classic Witch Hunters for 4th edition, Warhammer 40k. I'm going to rebuild them. I'm going to get some Sisters of Battle. I'm going to get a bunch of Cawdor models to represent Imperial Guard. And I'm going to get an Inquisitor, my old Inquisitor. And I'm going to rebuild my Warhammer 4th edition force. I'm going to paint a bunch of them. I'm going to get them into a playable experience for Warhammer 4th edition. And then I'm going to find out whether or not Warhammer 4th edition was actually good, or if it was just nostalgia and the fact that I had not played any other war games. Second to that, I'm also going to put together an Empire Force. I'm going to paint all my old Empire models that I used to have, because I never painted most of them. They're all been like Primes, Chaos Black. Some of them have been painted red, but most of them are just like completely black. And so I'm gonna paint those guys, kind of in anticipation for the old world, but also just to play, honestly. Maybe even in Kings of War or something, you know? William Zing says, welcome to One Page Rules. War Games Atlantic is coming out with Valkyr soon. Cooler than Marines, in my opinion. I haven't heard of the Valkyr, but I do War Games Atlantic do a ton of models that are basically great replacements for Imperial Guard. Honestly, if you have any interest in Imperial Guard at all, I would probably recommend that you play with War Games Atlantic models rather than Games Workshop native ones. The models themselves look really good, and they are tons cheaper. They are a lot cheaper. The Animeister says, for $20 a month, create cardboard cutouts of kill teams, and when you find one you like, then you'd already have enough money to save up and commit to the real McCoy. You can do one better, honestly. So One Page Rules, they have tokens. So they do paper cutouts for all of their factions. All of them are available. So if you go to their Patreon, you can check that out. Cut those out, stick them on some bases, and away you go. And then you've got the forces. And then at that stage, if you are interested, you could use any models you want at all. The game is totally open for that, honestly. I think maybe if $20 a month, you'd be saving for a while, but maybe like some of the Mantic games, like maybe Firefight. You could get Firefight maybe, but you would be saving for a while to get the starter box, I guess. That could be kind of rough. That's a hard one. I think historicals are probably a really good shout. If you could get like into like maybe even if you like Lions Rampart has a new edition coming out soon. And think about it this way: you could buy like a Perry box for like £20, Perry miniatures, and you'll get like 50, 60 models for like £20. So that might be the way to go. Honestly. Like I know that even if you are like you really want to play a Games Workshop product, buy a bunch of Perry minis. Proxy would be my suggestion, honestly. Ironcore Valkyr are worth an image, sir, says William Ings. I'll check them out. $10 a month for One Page Rules, says Ryle of Breadman. Yeah, and the thing is as well is that you're gonna, well, first of all, you can pay that once, and then you'll get access to like the special rules and stuff like that. You get access to the Google Drive, so you won't ever really need to pay that again. But if you want to get access to like the new models. Secondly, One Page Rules is very much designed to be playable if you got a 3D printer, right? Or a kind of a collection of Games Workshop models, or you're willing to buy Games Workshop models. Or Star Wars Legion stuff. There's like factions that represent armies from like Star Wars Legions, etc., etc., etc. But I think you're going to really struggle to play One Page Rules on $20 unless you are just happy to use the paper cutouts. Honestly, if you're trying to get minis themselves, I think Perry Miniatures is probably the place to go. Seriously. At a Google Foo, Frostgrave Wizards, and a box of 20 soldiers will set you back a grand total of £27, says Maddie Lumi. Yep. So Frostgrave is really cheap to buy into, I would say. Like you can get a bunch of models for Frostgrave for really cheap. The problem with Frostgrave, I would say, is that it asks you to have a varied selection of miniatures that represent various monsters in the Frostgrave setting, right? Because Frostgrave is like, for those who don't know, it is a skirmish game where you're going into the city of Frostgrave. You've got like a couple of thugs, a couple of soldiers, you've got a wizard and an apprentice, and your opponent is the same. They've got a wizard and an apprentice, a bunch of thugs, a bunch of soldiers, and it's like a skirmish level. You got like 12 models, you're both going in with 12 models each. That's fine. Like you can buy that for the £27, like Maddie says. You can get that really cheap. But there's lots of scenarios for Frostgrave, and many of them have monsters in them. And those monsters are like third-party monsters. They're aggressive to both players. They're controlled by AI. Or I think they're called mechanical. I don't know. Board games have a different parlance for them. I think AI is fine, honestly, because I think that's just we're actually cribbing off computer games these days, and so that encourages you to have a wide selection of models. But I mean, ultimately, if you just proxy that, I suppose you could probably just get away with that, right? Call the Mechanicum, says Matty. Oh no. Uh-oh. So we got ourselves a robot. Beep, beep, beep. Oh, damn. It's fixed now, is it? Audio discourse. Discourse roboto. Every time, guys. But the problem is, my CPU is actually fried right now. So I'm finding it really hard to stream without, what's happening there when my voice goes all robotic. It's because my CPU has hit 100%. I genuinely mean 100%. It has gone past its maximum limit that it can go to. I mean, right now it's at 95%. But it was probably at 100% the moment that it went all robot. Works better now. Awesome. So I need to buy a new CPU, which I'm being told is very expensive. Which is great. So that's something to worry about, I think. Whenever I get moved into a house, into my own property, into my own place, basically, away from my parents, at that stage, I'm gonna think about the CPU, getting that updated, getting that replaced. Basically, I think I'm gonna need to replace the motherboard as well. I'm not that great with the actual inside shenanigans of the computers, so we've been talking about that, though. I think that that's going to be the case. But anyway, yeah, so the monsters can be a PN. Maddie says he proxies a lot from random bits and pieces I have lying around. Yeah, see, that requires you to have a bunch of pieces like lying around is the thing. So that can be hard to get into a kind of playable position from there. But if you can, if you're happy to proxy stuff, without a doubt, Frostgrave would be good. I think definitely look into some skirmish games. You can get, if you go to North Games, right? North Star Games. If you go into North Star Games, you will find a bunch. No, it's not North Star. Wait, why have I forgotten this? My head's away today, guys. I have been working hard. Let me tell you. We're gonna look up. So, what did I last buy from there? I bought some Silver Bayonet models. Miniatures, and they actually do the official Silver Bayonet models. Yeah, North Star military figures, that's it. So if you go to northstarfigures.com, you'll find like a ton of miniatures there from all sorts of various from various. Oh, actually, you know what, we can do this. I can show you. No, not that. I can show you in theory. I can show you. Here we go. Yes. Aha. Here we go. Okay, so the the sizing is all off. Let's close all our tabs. Here we go. We're just gonna go to here. You can see all my googlings. Here we are. We're just gonna close this. We're gonna have a little look. So North Star sell a ton of minis. Oh, Edmund with the donation. Look at the secondhand market. After the crypto drop-off, tons of miners sold off. This would be the time to look for new hardware, says Edmund, and donated there. Thank you so much for the donation, Edmund. Thanks for the tip as well. That's really interesting. I've heard about the crypto crash. I didn't realize that there was loads of sell-off, though. So you're saying that now is the time to buy hardware. I don't have the... I don't have the money at the minute, unfortunately. That's the big problem. That is the major problem. There's a lot of stuff. I had to recently replace a light and things like that. I think I was telling about that last stream. Sean with the donation, thank you so much. Here's a couple of bucks to help Discourse get a new system. If you need advice on what to get asked, sure you have a lot of fans in IT like me. Well, thank you so much, Sean. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate that. That's the plan. New CPU is the plan. I'm gonna need one. I'm gonna need one. I think I mentioned before in another stream that I'm kind of hoping. I am hoping to maybe upgrade with the CPU because the CPU I have is kind of old enough to be sort of dying a death right now. Because I'm streaming with OBS, which is I guess pretty intense, but not that intense, right? And so I'm hoping maybe to upgrade. It will help me kind of do with the editing whenever I edit. It would be really useful to have. So that would be good. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. And I do, honestly, I could use the advice on what to actually pick up because I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure. But yeah, so I bought a bunch of, I bought some Silver Bayonet models. So they're kind of pricey, but I mean, you got to think about it this way. You get everything you need. So it's £24, you know, you get the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 models. It's not the cheapest models in the world. Like you could buy from Perry Miniatures, you get way less model. You get way more models, and they would be hard plastic too. These are metal, but the models are good. And what you get is basically everything you need for a Silver Bayonet force. And this is sort of what I'm talking about. Lots of people, I think, play Games Workshop products, and they're like, I don't get it. I can spend £26. I can get a squad of Space Marines, maybe, like from a third-party retailer. Like this is directly from the manufacturer. But I can spend £35 on a box of Space Marines. That's really good. It's not, especially considering the fact that the Space Marines are like a box of Space Marines. You're gonna need a lot more Space Marines where that comes from. You're gonna need a lot more. S&M Games does the North Star at a 25% discount. Shop around, says John James. Well, there you go. Right, so this is directly from the retail. This is RRP price. You can probably get it cheaper. Now, the thing I do like about them, though, is, I mean, it might be worthwhile checking out North Star just to look through the manufacturers, right? You got, like, Bad Squiddo Games. They do a lot of great minis. You got a bunch of them. There's Frostgrave, for example, as well. You see here, now, this is all RRP. I wouldn't pay necessarily these prices for the books. Like, £25, you can get the book for cheaper if you shop around for 100%. But there's Frostgrave Knights for, like, £15, right? Like, that's great, you know? That's great. And you'll find that value is something that other manufacturers do, that maybe Games Workshop doesn't do. That maybe Games Workshop struggles with. Like, I really would not, if you have a limited hobby budget, I wouldn't recommend you play Games Workshop products at all. I'd recommend that you buy other miniatures and proxy, really. Because you just get a lot more bang for your buck if you must play a Games Workshop game. Although what you might come to realize is that actually you don't want to play a Games Workshop game. You might end up wanting to play a game like Frostgrave instead, because there's just a lot more going on it. And here we go. We're back to full screen. We're back to the stars. Back into the sky. We touched down for a moment and now we're back. You can indeed play one-page rules for free. Certainly, right? Like, the rules are free. You can't do so. But if you want to get, like, the official miniatures, then you will have to be part of the Patreon. If you want to get access to the extended rules, which come with a bunch of more stuff, then you're going to want to pay money into the Patreon as well. But you get access to it. You pay once, you get access to it forever, which is great, I think. This page is more 1998 than 1986, I think, says Andrew. Okay, so real talk, yeah. Yep. I got a big problem with this, okay? I do. Let's scroll back for a moment. Let's jump back for a second, because I have a massive problem with this. This is one of the biggest problems with mini wargaming right now. People don't like these websites. These websites are incredibly old. And part of the reason why these websites look like this is because literally they were done by someone's nephew for them. Like, seriously. So on my Discord, I don't know if you can see, no, so you can't. So on my Discord, okay, let me just pull this in. Let me show you this. Oh, can I add this in? No, I cannot. Damn. Okay, so let me just show you something. Create new. Discord to Electric Boogaloo. I'm going to show you my Discord channel server here for a brief second. Okay, so on my oh no, where am I? Where have I gone? Ah! Okay, here we go. There we are. Right, so on my Discord, if you go to, where is it? Miniature stores. Okay, I maintain this massive selection of miniature websites, right? Of basically just all these different miniature stores. Whenever I come across them, I just catalog them, right? Because people are, like, interested in that. Woo! Resize this slightly. Okay. So I do this, right? But so many of these websites are like 1985 level websites. Or no, okay, maybe more Angel Fire, I guess, as someone mentioned earlier. I'm trying to find one to kind of show it off, like how ridiculous it is. I can't remember any ones in particular. Unfortunately. But they're absolutely, like, some of them are just ridiculous. And maybe North Star will be a good example. So if we look up maybe some of the Click Barbarians, if we look at the actual minis, oh, actually, this is a pretty high def. This is better images than I would have expected, honestly. What if we go to Bad Squiddo Games? Do these have good pictures? Oh, they do as well, actually. I feel like North Star have, like, updated this. See, this is the kind of pictures I kind of like. Like, there's a lot more that could be done here because so much of minis are visual. So much of minis, like, whenever I'm looking at minis, I want to see minis that look cool, right? And this is something the Games Workshop do get right. Like, if we look up Games Workshop, this is something the Games Workshop do really get right. If you go on to their website and you start looking up, boo, we don't care about this. Boo. Okay. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna look at a tactical squad. Fine, you've got me. I'm a new player, I'm playing Space Marines. Right? They actually do these very high def images. And they do stuff like this. Yeah, the 360 degree. So that you can actually see all the way around. That's great. Like, that's really good. Like, that's incredible. More websites should do that. Because this looks good. This is actually high def. But you get some pictures where you kind of need a magnifying glass. Not necessarily on this website, but there's tons of websites out there where genuinely you need a magnifying glass in order to actually see what the hell is going on with them. And that really annoys me, for real. Like, I think so many websites out there would benefit from actually getting a bit of a website, like a real website that wasn't made like 20 years ago, for sure. For sure. Festo says, yes, the Frostgrave is $18 for 3 minis. Dombrick says, third-party companies are always better in my experience, although the invasion of Ukraine is slowing down my delivery from Punga because they are a Russian company. Well, yeah, like I imagine that will really struggle. That will really struggle. Edmund says, I definitely think smaller scale and co-op games will likely increase. Co-op board games like Space Alert are really fun. Model scale wise, I don't like much smaller than company scale. I mean, 28 millimeters is grand, I think. I love skirmish games, honestly. Like, skirmish games are my favorite types of games. And Games Workshop have been getting into it. And that's why, like, in theory, I should be really excited for this Games Workshop summer game survey, right? Like, I should be really looking forward to this. But there's no games that I'm super hyped for. I mean, I guess I'm kind of looking forward to maybe if they say something about Mordheim, but as we discussed, like, I'm not sure how good that is. Now, I will say this much. They did, at least, in terms of Kill Team, they did actually innovate in Kill Team. Like, they made a new game with Kill Team. They tried something completely new. They actually did try to innovate, and I think that's impressive. For sure. I think that is totally impressive. Like, good job to them. The problem with Kill Team, though, is that I tried to play it in the campaign mode. I don't know if has anybody here played Kill Team, the campaign mode? Because if you haven't, don't try. It's garbage. It's trash. So what they have done is, they have done the Crusade system from 40k, where you're kind of leveling up as a force. You have, like, objectives you want to perform on this meta kind of situation. They're kind of meta objectives, right? So, for example, you might need to kill, like, say you need to kill 20 opponent. I don't even know. I don't think that's one of them, but say you need to kill, like, 20 of your enemies. Well, that's what I was doing. But what I quickly realized was that none of my campaign objectives required me to succeed in missions. So I was going into these scenarios, into these missions, and I didn't care whether I won or lost the game, so long as I completed my objectives as part of the meta campaign. What the hell? This was trash. Like, it completely ruined the game for me. It utterly ruined the game for me. Like, totally. I wasn't having fun at all with it. I really struggled. I really struggled. Has anyone else had a different experience with this? Because I found it very tough. Janitor says, Infinity is a very heavy game. I have played a little bit. I have played a little bit of Infinity, but I haven't played a ton of it, honestly. There was a starter box that released last summer that I bought into, and I really wanted to play more of, but I just ended up life got in the way. I got some of the models painted. Actually, they might be around. I got some of the models painted, but life kind of got in the way. I ended up not actually really painting them all, so that was kind of rough. That was kind of rough, and I ended up playing like a bunch of scenarios, but I didn't get through like the entire introductory scenarios for Infinity. Now, I will say that everyone I know who plays Infinity absolutely loves the game. They really love the game. Like, they absolutely adore Infinity. Infinity is probably one of the most competitive games based on everything that I have heard from it. Man of Action says, I wasn't a fan. Kill Team drove me away. Oh, was that from Infinity? Downer says Infinity expects a lot from you to play it. Yeah, so I think Infinity expects you to kind of really dive into the system. There is that newer version of Infinity, the kind of more casual version, which is Infinity Code 1, I want to say. Infinity Code 1. It's kind of a more casual, friendly version of Infinity, I think, so that might be something to look into. Kill Team 2 campaign is dung, says Rock Golem. Your success in the mission has no consequences, only secondaries and campaign objectives. Exactly my experience as well, and it killed the game for me. It actually made me lose all interest completely. I actually quite liked the Death Core of Krieg. I was quite a fan of the Deathcore Krieg, and I liked the Orc Commandos. I thought that was kind of fun. Although the Deathcore Krieg, I thought, kind of struggled against the Orc Commandos because they always felt like they were doing one less damage than they needed to, which was kind of rough. And you don't get enough plasma guns inside the core set. Classic Games Workshop problems where you can only have so many. The same sprue, basically, the same character could either carry a melted gun or a plasma gun, and you kind of wanted both of that guy. You kind of wanted two of those special weapons. So, once again, in the design of the models is not conducive to good play, which sucks. Absolutely sucks. And it'd be different if Games Workshop were selling these models individually or something. You could buy like multiples of them, but they're not. They're selling you like, well, why don't you buy another box? Because I don't need another like 9 infantrymen. I need this one guy. That really sucks. And also, the release style of Kill Team kind of killed it for me. The releasing a massive box set every quarter so that you could then, oh boy, a live service, huh? So a new update, you gotta buy your new update, get your 2 new gangs, you gotta buy them all together, maybe it'll come out a little bit later. And none of the new gangs, none of the new kind of kill teams interested me that much. I think the only kill team that interested me was a Gene Stealer cult kill team, and they were in a white dwarf. So, yeah. Like, I wasn't interested in the Sisters of Battle one, or like the Tai and Chalnath. The only one I've been interested in has been the new one from Morok, the Space Marines. Obviously not. Obviously not the Reavers or whatever it is they're called. No, it's the Trader Guardsmen are who interest me in that box. The Trader Guardsmen look really cool in that box, and I'm kind of waiting for them to be sold separately. I think that's honestly gonna be the first thing I buy from Games Workshop in like all year, in like 6 months. That, or maybe, okay, maybe, low-key, the Chaos Codex. I might actually buy the Chaos Codex, believe it or not. A faction that I've never had any interest in playing. For the first time, I'm thinking about playing them. In fact, I might do a video on this. I'm actually really, really hyped for the Chaos, for the new Chaos. Not necessarily the new Chaos models, for the new Chaos lore. I'm actually really excited for that. It's the first time I've been excited for Warhammer lore in like 15 years. Wow, it's kind of incredible. Rock Golem says he kept the orc stuff from Kill Team 2 box, resold everything else, rulebooks included. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you, honestly. I was a big sucker. I bought the compendium. What a mistake. I want my money back, honestly. I want my money back for that compendium. Guerrilla Warfare says, why the Codex? Because of the lore. Honestly, I want to read the lore. I want to read it. Janitor says, sick front cover, that new Chaos Space Marine book. Yeah, it looks alright. Yeah, it looks good. The art is good. The art looks cool. Yeah, it's not too bad at all. I do like some of the artwork. I mean, I'm always gonna miss Blanche. Although what I don't miss about Blanche is that really, as art, it's very busy and it doesn't work well on thumbnails. So I can never use Blanche artwork in any of my thumbnails, and I'm sad about that. I like to have been able to use some Blanche artwork. It's just too busy though. It's not attention grabbing. What about the new Chaos lore? Has you hooked? Ask Quoths. So, well, I don't know. I might be doing a video about this, but yeah. So the thing that has me, okay. So here's what has me really hyped about the Chaos lore. Okay, here's what has me actually really hyped. So, for those who have not been following Warhammer 40k lore for like the last 10 years, I don't blame you. But basically, the Imperium of Man has been like split in two, right? You've got like 2 Imperiums now. You got the Imperium Primus and Imperium Nihilus, right? One side is the side with Terra and the Astronomicon, which is the Primus, and then the other side is like split off from there. And there's like a single little corridor of space that you can get that attaches each one. And what this means is that central authority for the Imperium of Man has all but begun to evaporate on Imperium Nihilus. The half of the entire Empire of Man has begun to sort of Empire of Man. Yeah, I've been doing too much Warhammer Fantasy recently. The Imperium of Man has begun to fragment, and what this has led to is that the various systems in that sector, on that half of the galaxy, have begun to, lots of stuff has happened, basically. They've either begun to fragment, So they've either begun to genuinely just kind of drop off, they don't have connections to the Imperium of Man anymore, or they're actively declaring their independence. And one of the things that is brought up about the Imperium of Man in the book, as far as I'm aware, is that, and this is why I want to buy the book, I want to like verify a bunch of stuff that I've heard, is that there is, on a lot of Imperial planets, just an underlying resentment against the Imperium because the Imperium is so oppressive, right? So there's lots of planets who are declaring their independence. Lots of them have begun to create their own petty empires. And what you're seeing is this fragmentation of space where all of the different sectors, all these different planets and stuff like that are all going their separate ways. The Imperium of Man is starting to devolve in that area, starting to dissolve. And what this has done is, it has allowed Chaos, specifically Chaos Space Marine legions, to begin to assert control. And they're doing this in various different ways. So, for example, I think it's the Iron Warriors have literally created their own empire over there. They've taken over a bunch of planets, and they have taken over factories, and now they're actually pumping out soldiers and forces to wage war with. They're building their own petty empire. And other sectors, other Chaos Legions have gone down to these planets and are like, we're here for the Imperial Tithe. And those planets are like, oh hey, it's the new representatives from the Imperium, and they're giving the Imperial Tithe to these Chaos Legions. They think that, because how can you tell the difference really between one Space Marine from another? They think that they're serving the Imperium still. They think they still belong to the Imperium, but they're funding the war effort of Chaos Legions. And all these different petty Chaos Legion, like all these petty Chaos Warrior, Space Marine, warlords have begun to emerge, who are building their own empires. And the entire sector of space is beginning to utterly devolve. And I think that's genuinely really exciting. I think that's actually exciting movement in the lore. I really like that. It's building up towards this interesting space where literally the Imperium of Man is starting to fragment in front of our eyes. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, I think that actually gives Chaos Space Marines an identity. It gives them a position from which to actually threaten the Imperium of Man. Like, I've never found Chaos Space Marines threatening. I've never found them threatening. How the hell are they going to beat the Imperial Guard? Like, really, how are they going to beat the Imperial Guard? They're never going to beat the Imperial Guard. But now, they're building their own empire, and I think that's really interesting. Edmund, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the donation. Thank you. Dali Mini does a passive job drawing 40k scenes in the style of Frank Frazetta. When DALL-E 2 is released, maybe you could use it to make thumbnails. GW will hate this AI. DALL-E, huh? Does a passive job drawing 40. I've been seeing this. This is like that AI art thing, right? This is that AI thing. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that it could do Frank Frazetta well, because Frank Frazetta is one of my favorite fantasy artists of like all time. I really love Frank Frazetta's work. Wow, okay. Well, thank you so much for the tip, and thank you so much for the tip. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. I'm actually going to check that out. I'm going to check that out for sure. I'm going to check that out for sure, because so much of Warhammer art is really busy. And like, I love that for it, but a lot of it is really busy. It's hard to kind of utilize much of it. Yes, Chaos Trader Regiment incoming, says Man of Action. Yeah, I think so. I actually do think so, yeah. And I'm looking forward to it, because there seems to be a lot more focus on cultists and stuff like that. See, this is kind of, I'm actually a little bit excited for Chaos, like, which is weird, because I was always I was always an Imperial girl, right? I was always an Imperial girl. I was up for my secret police Inquisition. I was always into my Imperial Guardsmen. I never had time for Chaos. The only time I had for like non-Imperial forces were really Dark Eldar and Genestealer cultists. And now I'm like, ooh, give me a little bit of that Chaos pie. Give me a little bit of that Chaos pie. This is not something I've ever been that interested in, Chaos. Honestly, I mean, one of my first recollections, one of my first engagements with Warhammer 40k was reading the Dawn of War manual, the very first one, on the bus, on my way home, having just bought it in a game store. Reading the manual, looking at the factions. Oh, we got the Space Marines? Okay, the Space Marines, kind of a weird, boring name, but okay, Space Marines, sure, why not? We got the Orcs, huh, fantasy Orcs and sci-fi. That's kind of, it's a little bit different. And then we have the Chaos Space Marines. Aren't they just Space Marines? Oh, they're like body version of the Space Marines, and they're just called Chaos Space Marines. Isn't that a little bit phoned in? And that was my first, that was like one of my earliest memories of engaging with Warhammer 40k. My first impression was, wow, Chaos is pretty lame. And then I went on, I was like, oh, elves, huh, that's kind of neat. I've never been like massively into Chaos because it's just been Space Marines for spikes. But I'm glad to see that there is a little bit there's a little bit of movement there. They're making it more interesting for sure. Part of my problem though is that it's looking like all the new models are going to be very much monopose models. And, you know, sometimes you kind of have to accept when a company is sort of leaving you behind. And I do feel that way with all these monopose models. Like, I'm increasingly not wanting to collect Games Workshop models. And so it's kind of rich when people are like, oh, well, Games Workshop create the best models in the market. And it's like, do they? Because I don't want to build them anymore. I don't want to paint them anymore. I don't want to make Games Workshop models anymore. So it doesn't matter how clean the sculpts are or how defined the details are. Like, if I don't want to build them, if I'm not having fun with the models, like, are they the best? Like, are they the best on the marketplace in that case? Like, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. An Imperial girl in an Materium world, says Waffles Enjoyer. Yes, 100%. Opinions on Orcs, says Ips on that does Gmod. Love orcs. Love me some orcs. Love a bit of orcs. Orcs is my honest opinion of orcs. I love orcs. Yeah, I'm a big fan of orcs. I like them. They're very wholesome. I love them. Thank you, Soda Jerker. Thank you so much. Uncle Buck says, I have the Ravaged Star models incoming. Very nice, very nice. They did really well. I didn't, so they're not to my taste, basically. Like, the Ravaged Star models, they're too busy for me. Which is kind of funny, because you'd think that I would want really busy models, because I paint mostly with contrasts, and contrasts look really good on really busy models, but I actually like more sparsely detailed models. I like restrained aesthetic, I suppose I will say. I like restrained models, honestly. I'm a big fan of those, and the Ravi Star models are a lot. They're a lot, which is obviously to a lot of people's taste, because they did really well. They sold very, very well. Games Workshop needs to bring back socket, shoulder, hip joints. 100% agreed, Efren. 100% agreed. I did a bunch of videos like at the beginning of the year about this because I was putting together, over December, I was putting together some of the Slash Mortal models, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Edmund Armstrong, thank you so much for the super chat. 100% he says, monopose and only rules for what's in the box on the model kills it for me. Orc player have around 3,000 points with the conversions, ... Yeah, and orcs felt it so bad, Edmund. The new orc boys are the pinnacle of awful in terms of this new design. And it sucks because it's for orcs. Orcs! What should be the most modular army in the entire game. The one where it's like, just bring whatever you want. The orcs don't care. Like, instead, what we got was a bunch of monopose boys that you cannot customize in any way. But the entire ethos, the spirit of that entire faction is about being customizable. And here's the thing. I put together a bunch of the Slash Immortals army faction for Age of Sigmar, and they were all monopose, all of them. And they look pretty, sure. They look nice. They've got dynamic poses, but I hated it. I did not have fun at all. I didn't enjoy it. And I was worried for a while. Like, I got concerned. I was like, do I not enjoy assembling models anymore? I used to love assembling models. Why don't I enjoy this? Like, why aren't I having fun? And then I put together some bolt action minis from Warlord Games, which are just classic standard. It was like, excuse me. It was like I was teleported back to 2008, and I was building models from those days. And what do you get? You get a torso, an arm, and a gun. And sure, it's kind of awkward to put the gun in sometimes. But you know what you can't do? You can decide where it's going. You can decide if it's aiming. You turn the head if you want. You got control to turn the head. And you can decide whether or not he's aiming or whether or not he's looking to the right. And I actually had a blast. I had so much fun putting together those models. Telling little stories with the assembly. Sure. Okay, right. Like, they don't look as good. Sure, they don't look as good. But I tell you what, this guy is pointing. Look, he's pointing. I did that. I decided he's pointing. His head's down, he's running forward with some ammunition, and he's pointing forward. Why? Because he's pointing out to his heavy machine gun pal, his comrade. There they are, shoot those guys. They're running forward to a forward position, and he's saying, there's the enemy. Why? Because I made him point there. Because I decided that would be an interesting pose for that model. I got to decide that, not the manufacturer. And if you're gonna build plastic sculpt, you've got hard plastic sculpts. One of the big advantages of that is that you can do that. You can allow the user, the consumer, to tell stories with the models. And I can't paint very well. I just can't, okay? I'm not very good at painting. I can't tell stories by painting them in certain ways. I can tell stories by assembling the models because a baby can do that. And I have the skills, I have the hobby skills of a baby. So let me tell stories with the models, Games Workshop. There's so many monopose models. It really frustrates me because I don't have fun building them. So whenever I see a model as monopose, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to buy this. Like, the model might look good, but I'm not going to buy this. And that's partly one of the reasons why I haven't enjoyed any of the Kill Team kits. Because the Kill Team kits are all monopose as well. It's really rough. I'm sorry, guys. You kind of... It's like you've unlocked a core memory there. I apologize. War Games Atlantic still make kits like this, says William. Yeah, I've heard as much. I mean, most manufacturers do, right? Most manufacturers do. Two-piece push fit isn't very satisfying, says Hurricane Live. I agree. I just don't find it very satisfying. I mean, it's gonna be horses for courses, right? There's gonna be lots of people who prefer the monopose sculpts because, well, they prefer the models to look cooler on the table, right? You can get some really awesome looking models. You can get some really cool looking models from the monopose sculpts. Like, for example, I have this. This is a patrician for Carnivale. He's a resin model, so he's monopose. Like, you can get, I didn't get any control of that, but it looks cool. Like, you can get some dynamic looks for them. You can see some Games Workshop ones, they look pretty cool, but if you're going to do it in hard plastic, like, I just feel like take advantage of the medium. Just take advantage of the medium. But again, this goes part of the way towards Games Workshop, I think. And that's why you're seeing monopose models, even in army-based games. Games Workshop don't care about the games, really. Like, ultimately, they're trying to build models that will make someone go, oh, wow, they look really cool, and buy them. Like, I think that's kind of the thought process behind the monopose sculpts. That essentially the playability of the models, the rule sets, they're all adjusting to fit this kind of design ethos of monopose. And the reason for that is because Games Workshop ultimately, they don't care about war games. They don't care about war games. And it's actually something I'm going to talk about in an upcoming video that will come out on Tuesday, if all goes well, unless there's some sort of editing issue. It'll come out on Tuesday, where I'm going to be talking about the miniature wargaming hobby and some existential threats, I think, to the hobby, and also discussing YouTubers, influencers, as well as the Warhammer hobby, as distinct from the miniature wargaming hobby, and how this might be a massive problem for wargaming. But we'll see. We'll see about that. That'll come out on Tuesday. John says, I'm the opposite. I liked my medals. So I have warmed up to medals. I have a bit of a prejudice against medals. The very first mineral. Jesus, Barry, they're minerals. The very first material I worked with in this hobby were metals. They were Sisters of Battle metal sculpts. And that kind of put me off metals. It just turned me off metals. Because I didn't like it. And then I went on to Imperial Guard. I enjoyed plastic. So for the longest time, I hated metals. I refused to work with metals. But since working with resin, I've started to actually like metals a bit more, honestly. I've started to like them a little bit more. Like, I wouldn't say it's my preferred material to work with. I think hard plastic 100% is my favorite of all time. But certainly, I've gotten a little bit more used to them. Yeah, I'm starting to prefer them. The Glensalve says, monopose sculpts look better in advertising shots. Yeah, they do, right? And I think that's, like, the important bit, right? The important bit is that they can show them off in the Warhammer community, and that's how they sell the models a lot. The Gibb says GW's a model company first and a games company 10th. Well, yeah, they're a cash money company, really. Cash money. That's it, right? Max says, yeah, from the leaks, it seems a lot of Chaos Space Marine options have been stripped down to what's in the box, which is a shame. Chaos Space Marines are always a more versatile army in that respect. That is a real shame. That is a real shame, honestly. Nicholas, thank you so much for the donation. I love a good rant. Down with monopose. Yes, apologies to everybody. I'm sorry. I don't mean to go off like that sometimes, but I'm just very passionate about some of this stuff. But yes, thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Honestly, I felt like I was kind of losing my mind about some of these things. I was like, oh my god, like, do I actually no longer enjoy assembly models? Like, it made me really doubt myself. So thank you so much, though. I really appreciate that. I think it's especially the orcs. Doing it on the orcs is like, come on, like, of all the factions in the world to do that with, not the orcs. Not the orcs. Elfrin says, Corvus belly medals are beautiful. I just wish they did not make anything bigger than vanilla infantry with it. Metal tags be heavy. Well, they're moving over to a resin now, aren't they? They're moving over to a resin now for the bigger things. But yeah, I do have some. I'm trying to look to see if I can see any there. I do have some medals for Infinity for sure. Yeah, and I do like them. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they're famously. I remember. God, I'm trying to remember what model it was, but I remember trying to put together some metal wings on a sort of resin model. God, that was awful. That was absolutely horrendous. I can't even remember what model it was, but I'm sure someone will probably know. I'm sure it's probably pretty infamous, honestly. Monopose for the win. We have factions, says John James. It depends. Like, skirmish games. Skirmish games is, skirmish games you can get away with monopose more, right? Because especially if they're characters. Like, I don't mind monopose that much whenever they're kind of special characters. Like, I'll accept that. But when you're doing, like, army level games, I feel like you probably want some customization in the armies because they're going to be building, like, loads of them. Like, for example, like, nobody told me this. Like, hold up. The Horus Heresy box, right? That massive box set, that's tons of value. You guys know that it's just like 6 of the same sprue of 5 monopose Space Marines, right? Like, it's just 6 of the same sprue, and they're 5 monopose Space Marines. Like, am I wrong? In like, that's how the value was created. Gidja Steve, thank you so much for the donation. Thank you so much for the huge donation. Holy, thank you. £45. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Wow. Discourse Miniatures, do you think your hatred of monopose is just that they make it multi-pose, or that they don't give you enough multi-monopose alternatives? The Blade Guard allow you lots of options, just not lots of freedom to make your own. Honestly, that's a really good question, Ginja. That's a really good question. Thank you so much for the donation, first of all, right? I really appreciate that. That's incredible. But secondly, in terms of the answer to your question itself, I think it depends. So, for example, the kill team box, I put together the Death Corps of Krieg kill team box because I've been wanting a Death Corps of Krieg army since I was a little girl, okay? Like, since I was, like, 12 or whatever. Like, I can't remember the exact age I got into Warhammer. But it was, like, since I've always wanted a Death Corps of Krieg, ever since I discovered them. But they were all in Forge World. They were too expensive. I've never actually been able to afford Forge World Krieg. Okay, I've never had enough money ever to like be able to afford those. So I always wanted that. So whenever the Kill Team box came out with the Krieg, I bought the Krieg. I bought them, and I put them together, and they do have multiple options. Now you got to be careful with those options for sure. Like, some of them, they share weapons and things like that. And I didn't mind putting them together, but I didn't have as much fun. Like, for sure, I didn't have as much fun. Because I think a lot of I find that it's kind of like this, okay? So I'm trying to think of a good example. So I find the models less engaging when you're putting them together and you're just reading the instructions and you're doing what it says. I find that less engaging. And so there's a little bit more engagement. It's like a spectrum, right? There's a little bit more engagement whenever you're actually getting to choose what weapons they're going to have. Like, for sure. And I think if it's a skirmish game and there's like only 10 models in the game, and so monopose kind of makes sense, it's not too bad, then you can put in options. That's good. Like, I think that's neat. Put in options if you can. Like, for example, this resin model, he's got a sword, but he could have had a pistol. Like, I could have chosen to give him a pistol, right? So it's kind of on a spectrum. Like, that is good. I think that's better than not having any options. But when I'm putting together, like, for example, those bolt action miniatures where I get to totally choose how they are positioned, that is so more engaging for me. That is super engaging. And if you've ever played like a massively multiplayer online game, it's kind of like classic WoW versus modern WoW, where modern WoW, you can just like pick up a quest, you get the quest, like, you know where the quest has to be done. You just follow the direction. There's a big arrow pointing you in the direction of the quest. You go there, you see the objective, kill 10 rabbits. You kill the 10 rabbits, you run back to the quest giver, you just hand it in, it's done. That's monopose models to me. I read the instructions, I just do what it says, I don't think about it, it's done. Right? It's like labor. It's a laborious exercise. It's just performative. Whereas whenever I'm building, this is for me personally, whenever I'm building multi-pose models, I'm picking up the model, every single one of them, I'm thinking, how's this guy gonna look? Like, what's he gonna do? And in classic WoW, it's kind of like whenever I pick up a quest, I'm like, where am I going? I gotta read the quest text. Like, where am I going? I have to figure it out. I have to look at the map. I have to go, okay, well, I'm gonna go this way. And I try to go that way, or I try to optimize my route. And then I arrive there, and then I go, okay, I gotta kill 10 rabbits. And I start looking around for rabbits because I don't know where exactly they are. I'm guessing a little bit, and I finally kill them. And then I kind of make my way back, and I'm like, yeah, I did the quest. It felt more like an adventure. I engaged with the content more. And I feel like whenever I'm building multi-pose models, I'm engaging with the models. I'm engaging. It feels more like a hobby experience for me, where I've got the models there and I'm like, okay, how am I going to build these models? Like, what am I going to do? Whenever I'm building Games Workshop models, like, I don't feel that way anymore. Now I'm just like, oh, I got these 10 archers I need to put together. All right, get the instructions out. Let's do this, you know? And in a way, that's better for, like, new players because they're not going to be able to make mistakes. Although, that's in theory, because in practice, the Games Workshop instructions often come with errors and mistakes, like, will happen because you follow them to the letter. So you've got to still engage a little bit, but in the worst way possible. It's like the quest text is lying to you. That's not fun engaging. That's not fun and engaging, you know? That's just me. So, all that to say, I think ultimately it's a spectrum. I think that I prefer models, certainly, that have multiple options. But I think overall, the core experience of building models that are simply monopose just isn't as fun as multi-pose models. But thank you so much for the donation, Ginja. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, yeah, and I can't remember. So I was saying Horus Heresy. Yeah, Horus Heresy, the box set. It's just like 6 sprues of monopose Space Marines, which I was very disappointed to learn. Like, oh my goodness, it's like no wonder it's so cheap. There's just like 6 of the same sprue. Like, whatever. Like, whatever. Chop out all the armor and weapons and throw them in the bits box, then make your guy, says Festo. I like building things from what I get in the box. Jess Hunt says, North Star plastics are like that, but they Frostgrave, Oathmark, or Stargrave, heaps of options, plus they all fit each other. See, this is what I love. Like, I love hard plastic kits that give you tons and tons and tons of options. Like, that's what I enjoy. Tons of options in hard plastic, because that's like the medium, you know? Like, take advantage of the medium. Hard plastic comes with sprues, and you can fit lots of different options. Like, for me, I don't know if there's anything sadder than buying a character model from Games Workshop, never directly from Element Games, like my affiliate link in the description below. Always got a shill, right? If I'm ever buying models that are like a single character, and I get it in a hard plastic kind of sprue, and you get this, like, you've paid like $30 or like £20 for this like single sprue, and it comes with like a body, a leg that's like on a rock. You get like an arm holding a staff, another little arm holding like, I don't know, like an orb, and a head, and that's it. And I'm like, why the did I pay all this money for this? Like, what did I buy with this? Like, this, it's this tiny little sprue. Really, like, it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be that much for so little. It should be. You should be getting like a ton of options. There should be like 3 more sprues thrown in. There should be like as much sprues as in a box, but you're building a single guy. And I kind of wish that the Chaos Spawn were a little bit like this from Games Workshop. The Chaos Spawn sprues a little bit like this, where you can kind of just throw on a bunch of stuff. I think that's kind of neat. I wish we'd see some more of that design philosophy, because like the Chaos Spawn sprues were made like how long ago now? Like I don't even know. Jeez. Monopose is resin, says the Orc Inquisitor. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the problem. That's one of my big problems with resin. That's why I don't enjoy resin as much. They're monopose, right? But at least with resin, they're monopose. You do a bit of super glue, you throw it on, you're like, okay, it's done. Like, I actually do find resin models assembly pretty laborious. Like, I don't really enjoy assembling resin models, but I really enjoy assembling hard plastic models, in theory, if they're not monopose. Buying characters is genuinely soul-destroying, says Runcible. Yeah, it is, honestly. It really is. And that was one of the things I brought up with my squat video, that I was worried the squats were going to consist of a ton of characters because the Gene Stealer cultists are, and it really sucks to buy them. It really is a total feels bad moment. Just a total feels bad moment. It's like, oh god, no. Just primed my first ever Space Marine. Can I get a woohoo, says John James. Well, congratulations, John. Welcome. I mean, I gotta get, that's not your first model ever, is it though? Right? Is it the first Space Marine? Or is it the first model? Because those are two different experiences, I have to imagine. They're two different things. Resin can bend though, says Igzorn. I'm not bending resin if I can help it. Like, if resin is bending, then I'm not pleased with what's going on. I'm not pleased. Something has gone dreadfully awry for me. Are you playing and enjoying Bolt Action, asks the Orc Inquisitor. I'm not. I haven't yet. So I haven't yet played the Bolt Action. I have seen Let's Plays. I've played I've played a bunch. I've seen a bunch of games of it, but I haven't played it yet. And I'm excited to play it, but it's very much on the back burner because it's an army level game, and I spoke on a video about this. I just don't have the space to play an army level game right now. So all of my time has been spent playing Carnivale. I mean, all of my time has been spent either recording, writing, or editing, or streaming. Actually, over the last week I've been streaming a lot on Twitch at Discourse Games, by the way. Twitch.tv/Discourse Games. Maybe I should actually put a link to that in the description. But so I haven't actually been able to play much of anything. I've gotten like 1 or 2 games of Carnivale in, which I have been really enjoying, but I haven't played any of the Bolt Action. I've been slowly putting together models for it. Just very slow burn. I'm hoping at some stage to review Bolt Action. I actually mentioned that in my upcoming video. I'm hoping to review Bolt Action, so stay tuned, I guess, for Bolt Action stuff, because Bolt Action seems like a really interesting game. In a lot of ways, it feels like the successor to Warhammer 40k in a lot of ways, right? Because it's Rick, like, spiritually speaking, it's Rick Priestley's next iteration of game design. And Rick Priestley, of course, was the designer of Warhammer 40k. So I'm really excited to play it. It looks fun. It looks like a lot of fun. Alan Foley says, just finished a whole 3,000 point Warmaster Bretonnian army, 100% monopose, looks totally animated. Yeah, so you can get like a totally animated look to it, certainly. And that's why I say, like, in skirmish games, I totally get it. Certainly. Warmaster, that's small scale though, isn't it? And I think small scale models are a little bit different. It's one of the things it's kind of one of the reasons that I'm not really a big fan of like 10mm size games. Honestly, there's something about it. Like, in theory, I think it would be really fun, but there's something about it that I've just never been grabbed by. There's something about the 28mm. I think it's probably just like indoctrination, honestly. But I just really enjoyed 28mm. Work discourse. You're forgetting work. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I work a 9 to 5 as well, which has been fun. I'm hoping that not be working the 9 to 5 soon. I'm reaching that stage where it's not feasible anymore. Like, I can't anymore. Like, I'm getting to the stage where, like, really, like, my day job is really getting in the way of help like building more content and stuff like that, and getting in the way of me doing things that I want to do. Like there is other stuff that I really need to do for the channel that I really like to do, and my day job is really getting in the way. So I'm kind of nervously gearing up, I think, to maybe quit. I still haven't hit my Patreon goal, like for Patreon, right? Because I wanted like a sort of certain amount of income, like a base amount that I would need in order to survive. And Patreon is so much more dependable than ad revenue, right? Like Patreon is kind of like for a content creator, and I think this goes for like the vast majority of content creators. Patreon is sort of like it's your ability to survive off Patreon is super important, because ad revenue from YouTube is like, you don't know what's gonna happen. Like the YouTube algorithm can decide to just go boop, and your video's dead, right? Or ads won't get shown, or the ad rate actually varies throughout the year. Like around Christmas it's good, around summer not so good around summer, and it doesn't bring in very much money, the ad revenue, right? The ad revenue isn't like enough for anybody to live off. Like if I were trying to survive off the ad revenue, I would be making far less than minimum wage, like far less for the amount of hours, for the fact that you're working like 10 hours in a day, and then you're kind of getting like less than a minimum wage salary. It's kind of rough, right? So so it needs to be kind of supplement that varies as well, that goes up and down depending on the whims of YouTube, which is always fun to build your life around. So Patreon, I've been trying to build up Patreon as much as possible, and my patrons are like, have supported me so much. It's been honestly incredible that I've been absolutely loving it. Absolutely incredible support from patrons. It's why I thank them every single video, right? Because really, like, the content wouldn't be there if it wasn't for patrons. But so I've been kind of hoping that like I could get like a certain level, but it's getting to the stage where I haven't hit that level, but nevertheless, like, my day job is really getting in the way. So I might take a punt. Like, I don't know if that's a good plan considering the current economic circumstances of the world, but I might go for it, right? Like, so I might go for it soon. So that is there you go. I didn't mean to speak about this, but there we are. I'm kind of nervously doing so. I'm like getting to that stage where I'm like, dude, I can't do this work. I gotta write this script. Like, I need to record a video today, or else there's no video on time for the schedule. So it's getting kind of nervy, to be honest. Maxim says, so like an artist, the classic starving artist. Edmund Arson says, my friends tried to get me to Dystopian Wars. None of the factions spoke to me. Dystopian Wars, it's really interesting. I do see adverts for it a lot, but like you, none of the factions really spoke to me either. Dystopian Wars, so that's the one with the big ships, right? Dystopian Wars. That one, I'm not a huge fan of like naval games, to be honest, and that goes for both water and space. Neither of those sort of sections, those kind of that style, really is to my taste, to be honest. It's just not. It's just something about it. I think it's too slow and ponderous. I'm just not curious about it, really. And none of them interested me. There was one game, I think it's from Mantic Games, that I sort of was a little bit. I think it's the only 10mm style game that I actually was a little bit like, And God, I'm trying to remember what game it was. It wasn't, good. Oh no, what game was it? See, all games from Mantic Games. They do a game. Was it Warpath? No. It's like this kind of modern day setting where there's like aliens and there's loads of tanks and stuff like that, and they're fighting giant mechas. That kind of looked fun. And like the terrain that they sell is like buildings. Like skyscrapers and stuff. That looked like a kind of fun game. I was kind of curious about that. I might have been interested in that. Wild West Exodus is pretty fun, says Beauregard Equipment. Arbiter Ian! I wanted to play that game. I wanted to play that game at UKG so much. And I kept on, the entire weekend, I was like, okay, well, on Sunday, I'm going to get a demo game in. On Sunday, I'm going to get a demo game in of Wild West Exodus. I want to see all the hubbub. And I had it planned for Sunday afternoon, and then I met up with Arbiter Ian, and then we ended up having so much fun that we just hung out for a lot of that day. And I didn't get my demo game in. I didn't get the demo game in, so I need to play that game. I need to try it out. That and Mythos I wanted to try, and I never got to play either of them. God damn it. I did it for you, Discord, says Dam. Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate it, Dam. Thank you. Borgar Equipment says, big ships, really big moving land bases. Yeah, exactly. Unlike you, I've looked at Dystopian Wars, but nothing really spoke to me at all. And no one I know actually plays games at that scale or level. Like, no one I know, like, plays any games like that. Not even, like, Armada or anything. Flames of War, says Gamma Ray Gaming. No, it's not Flames of War. Like, I know Flames of War. God, I'm actually, well, maybe it wasn't Mantic Games. Who am I thinking of then? There is definitely a game. There's definitely a game by somebody. Who did it was Mantic Games did the Walking Dead game, right? It was Mantic who did that, and I thought it was the same creator of, yeah, Mantic did the Walking Dead game, and I could have sworn that it was the same creator as them. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe it wasn't Mantic Games. Maybe it was somebody else. Curiouser and Curiouser. Drop Zone Commander. Oh, TT Combat. It was TT Combat, right? Drop Zone Commander. Yes. TT Combat. Yes, it's Drop Zone Commander is the game. Yeah. I was looking at that and I was like, hey, actually, do you know what? Fighting giant aliens in a sort of kind of sci-fi Earth would be kind of fun. That actually looks kind of fun. I was looking at the, oh god, who was it? There's like a specific faction who are like these rebellion, this rebel force that looked kind of interesting. They had this very, let's throw up the browser here. Yeah. Who was it? It was one of these guys, the Resistance Starter Army. I was like looking at this being like, you know what? Because you get a lot of stuff here for 35 pounds. I mean, I know it's really small, right? But I kind of dig this aesthetic. Like this, you don't get this aesthetic a lot in miniature wargaming for some reason. Like, it's very surprising. Like, this is very reminiscent of like Command and Conquer or like RTS game design to me. This was one that I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. So this is the only game at this scale that has made me kind of interested. So just to give you a bit of context, this is like big, massive, like aliens and stuff have like kind of invaded, I think. I don't really know much about the setting, but I think the context is aliens have invaded Earth. So, you know, Independence Day, the game, I guess. Charles says, I play bolt action, United States Marine Corps, and I get more out of every game as much as enjoyment and learning than I ever did from Warhammer 40k, but I did love my Bretonians. Yeah, so I mean, I think that the bolt action simulates the chaos of battle, you know, whereas Warhammer 40k is a very sort of methodical experience, where you're kind of, the pacing is very specific to Warhammer 40k. You're going through this list of turn order. I gotta do all my movement, then I gotta do all my shooting, then I gotta do all my assaulting, you know, and insert magic, psychic, etc., depending on what kind of game you're playing. Age of Sigmar or 40k. Whereas with bolt action and things like that, you're kind of, I prefer the paradigm where you activate units, you do everything with that unit, then they're done. Like, I just genuinely, I prefer that to the everything gets activated all at once. I just really do. It's interesting for you to say that you've learned a lot more. I mean, war games, you know, from Kriegspiel, the old school war games, I mean, it was used by generals to practice strategy, to practice commandership, right? It was specifically the Prussians used it, didn't they? So, I mean, I'm not, it's kind of curious though. It's kind of, because we don't really view war games anymore as this kind of learning tool. It's mostly as just recreation these days, but it used to be learning. Mantic Day walking game, yeah. Olive Foley says the Resistance. Yep, exactly. The first edition of Drop Zone should be pretty cheap, says Dorky Dad. Yeah, I mean, they're not, from what I could tell, they weren't too expensive. As far as I could tell. Edmund says the best part of DZZ is the force organization charge based around the choice of air transport vehicles to bring the rest of your forces. That's pretty cool. Don Brooks says it reminds me of Epic from yesteryear. Epic 40k, that is. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Definitely. 40k is such a specific setting. It's always strange to me that it's like the default mini game, because it is such a specific setting. Whereas you think like a game like this would actually be more appealing to a broader sort of mass market. I don't know. But I quite like the Resistance aesthetic. I'm not like the biggest fan of the UCM. The UCM is maybe like a little bit too sci-fi for me. I'm not a. These remind me of Scorpion tanks from Command and Conquer 4. So it's just like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm not a huge fan of like the kind of weird like turret that's like angled up. I don't really like that. I like the more traditional tank design personally. I refuse to lose to an incompetent Kaiser, says the Glens of. Yes, famously, the Kaiser Wilhelm of the German Kaiser absolutely loved playing the war games, but he was awful at them. He was like the worst Warhammer player ever. He was that guy. And he insisted everybody had to lose to him. All the generals, they had to lose to the Kaiser Wilhelm, or else he'd feel bad. So they all had to lose to him. And there was one general who absolutely refused to. He refused to lose to the Kaiser because the Kaiser was playing, Wilhelm was just playing so badly that he could not, he couldn't, he would refuse to lose to him. It's very funny. Oh my god, Exorn chants EDF, EDF. Yes, the Earth Defense Force. I would play that minis game. Giant bugs, right? Like trying to fight giant ants and stuff. My god, what a system. What a setting. Beauregard Equipment says, I learned so much from the old Avalon Hill war games in the 70s. I'm so old. Avalon Hill. That's not like Ogre and stuff, is that? That's not the old chit-based games, is it? Because I love those. Oh, are these even, these, I don't even know what these ones are. Avalon Hill. Oh, Axes and Allies. I know that one. I know Axes and Allies. Maybe, I think I'm thinking of, Steve Jackson games. I'm thinking of, like, some of the old chit-based games. Command & Conquer 4 does not exist, never have, never will, says Mr. Alienware. No, don't say that. One day it will exist. One day there will be a Command & Conquer 4. We just gotta believe. One day there will be one. GM says, I could get away from GW if anyone made a comparable sculpt quality, but also in hard plastic. Well, you know, I think that actually, depends what you're looking for, honestly. Like, in a lot of ways, I've heard some professional painters say that they don't think that Games Workshop sculpts are actually that great for painting. That they actually make, so from a very high level painting perspective, this is something I never talk about because I have no idea about this, because I'm like terrible. I'm nowhere near a golden demon level painter, but I've heard like professional painters say that they actually think that the sculpts from Games Workshop are pretty poor, that the details and things like that run into one another. I don't know, I'm not really the best at this. In terms of assembly, like I can only give you my opinion. It's like, it's sort of, what are you looking for in a model? Like, is it just to look really sharp? In which case, why? Like, why? Like, why is that the most important thing? It's really interesting, you know? Like, I mean, I don't doubt, like, so much of this hobby is aesthetic. So much of it is aesthetic. Because otherwise, we'd all just be playing with chits. Right, we'd be moving tokens around the board. Like, obviously, there's a lot of aesthetic to this, so it's fine. Like, I mean, I get it that aesthetic is important, but it's very curious. Like, I think I would like to think about this a lot more. I'd like to sit down and really try to kind of interrogate, like, what is it about miniature wargaming that drives us to have, you know, the best painted models, the best looking models? Is it immersion? Is it just competitive play? Like, what is it about this hobby that does that, you know? And what is it that we need from models? What do we need models to do? What do we need miniatures to do? What is it about them that we need them? And I've discovered, I think, that what I need miniatures to do is be kind of fun to assemble. More so than just look good, you know? Like, that I prefer models that maybe have softer details, like the bolt action models, but that I have posed and I have been able to tell stories with a bit more. And I'm starting to think, I'm thinking about my priorities, you know, in terms of what I personally want my models to do, because I don't think that there is like a one size fits all. I think it's all going to be ultimately horses for courses for sure. VJ Rex says GW miniatures lack surface texture, is what he says. So yeah, I think that might be something similar. One of the things that I dislike about GW miniatures personally is just there's a lot of straps, and so straps are like useful to like break up the colors and to kind of add a little bit. It kind of helps define other colors against one another, but it's too much for me. Like, it's constant. Like, it means that whenever I'm painting a single GW miniature, it becomes a big problem. Blackbeard says social media. The Animeister says, yeah, from a designer perspective, I think the details is very good. Yes, there are some exceptions, but from a tolerance standpoint, they're very well designed. Fair enough, yeah. Chris Morty says, Blood Red Skies is great fun. Also, a lot of BRS is currently the Warlord Summer Sale. Warlord are doing a Summer Sale, are they? I saw that Matic Games were doing a Summer Sale, which I think just ended. The Urban Wizard says, do you play Black Powder? When you play Bolt Action, one can add 2 or 3 black dice to the bag, and when all of them are drawn, the turn ends. Oh, is that like a variant rule? I haven't seen that rule played. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I'm not against it though. Like I think it'd be interesting to play in. Jim says GW miniatures can get loud as far as design and silhouette, but the detail is nice. I love my Age of Sigmar Snake Ladies. Yeah, silhouette is a big problem for me that Games Workshop have. One of my, it's actually a major problem I have. I think the Games Workshop actually really suck at designing armies. Like, I think that they're starting to win it back a little bit with Chaos here. They're starting to impress me a little bit there. But traditionally speaking, I would say the Games Workshop are really bad at faction design. And what I mean by this is they find it hard to distinguish units from one another. So if you look at Space Marines, for example, I find it very hard to tell apart different Space Marines. Or no, actually, let's look at the classic. The classic. This is like 101. You would teach this in design school. Don't do this. And it's for one of their relatively newer ranges. It is, of course, the Stormcast Eternals. And I want you to look at this miniature range and tell me what the hell Games Workshop were smoking the day they decided to build this range the way they did. So look at this range, okay? Vanquishers, Vigilators, this guy, Annihilators, Vindicators, Praetors. Okay, they've all got weird names, firstly, which is kind of hard to remember, but good from an SEO perspective. If you Google these things, you will likely find them, right? Maybe not Annihilators, but like Vanquishers, yeah, Vanquishers miniature, you'll probably get them first Google search, Vigilers too, okay? Sure, why not? But I honestly, like, I find it hard to tell the difference between these models. Like, at a glance, I'm like, what the hell do these models, like, what's the difference? Like, what makes these guys that different from these? Like, these guys have got spears, okay, and they have some shields, okay. These guys have got bows, okay, good. But what makes them different from the Sequitors or the Retributors? Like, what's the difference between these characters? I can't tell at a glance. Honestly, I can't tell. There's so many of them, and they're all just the same thing. There's some guy in armor looking a bit angry, either wielding a double-handed sword or a double-handed weapon, or a shield and melee weapon, or a bow of some sort. Like, that is terrible from a silhouette design perspective. From a faction arming variety design, this sucks. Why do these all exist? And okay, so, and that's not even the worst one. All right, that's not even the worst one. I want to introduce an army to everyone. They're called the Fire Slayers. And they are the worst designed army ever made, because they are just guy with beard, no armor, has a weapon. The army. What the hell? Like, is it just me, or are these awful models because they don't work as an army? And these, you can't just look at this individual model and go, he looks pretty good, because he's meant to work as part of a coherent force. He looks too coherent. You know, like, whenever I think of what I want in an army, I want the models to look kind of different enough from one another, but also have a similar design direction, right? So there's so much redundancy in the Games Workshop sculpts, and I think a lot of it is because they just keep making more stuff. Because they want to sell new sculpts over and over again. So they keep making new stuff because they want to monetize the same branch of players over and over again, right? So they keep making Stormcast Eternal models. Why? Well, not necessarily because they need more Stormcast Eternal models, but because they need to monetize Stormcast Eternal players again. And the models themselves are super conservative in what they can do. And people talk about like how imaginative Age of Sigmar is. Is it? Like, is it that imaginative, you know? Like, at least with the Empire, for example, it was the same thing, but it was one kit. You'd buy Empire State Troopers. You could arm them with swords, spears, or halberds. And all three of those were very different weapons, and they would just do that thing. They didn't have, like, 3 different versions of infantry for the Empire, and they were all armed with, like, different things with slightly less armor and slightly different stats. It's just bad faction design. It really is. It's bad design. And I truly mean that. So when people say that Games Workshop threw, like, incredible faction variety, I'm like, do they? Like, do they? Or do we all just think that? Like, have we all just drank the Kool-Aid a little bit? Because sometimes I feel like I have. They could all be one kit, says Lifecore Leroy. Exactly. They could all genuinely be one kit. They could be a single multi-pose kit. They could. They sure as hell could. And in fact, that was one of the benefits of going onto the circle bases from the square bases of Warhammer Fantasy. That you could do more, that you could allow them to move their arms down and stuff like that, right? But no, they've decided to sell them all separate, as separate kits. It's the same with the Space Marines, you know? There's old Stormcast, then Stormcast 2.0, then Stormcast 3.0. Similar problem with Space Marines, says Waffles. Yeah, I get that. Like, there are people who are like, the new Stormcast look incredible, the old ones look lame. It's like, I don't know, dude. Like, I can't tell the difference. As someone who doesn't collect Stormcast Eternals, honestly, as someone who would be very casual when it comes to Age of Sigmar, like, I can't tell the difference. Like, I don't care. Like, they're like, oh, these ones look way better to these ones. And I'm like, do they? Like, do they? Like, I can't tell the fucking difference, dude. Like, I can't tell the difference, to be honest. Like, I really can't. Oh, these guys got slightly chunkier knee pads than these guys. See, that's different. That needs to be a different sculpt, for sure. I mean, really, does it? Like, does it really need to be? For sure? Does it? I don't know. I think they're being a little bit cheeky with that one. All the Cadron look the same too, says Waffles. Yeah, part of the problem is that, like, really, it's about restraint, right? It's about building your armies to have a little bit of restraint, and thinking about the armies from a game design perspective. Thinking, what does this unit do in my army that no other actual unit does? Games Workshop don't think that way. Games Workshop just go, wouldn't it be cool if? But that makes a load of redundant armies. And what it means is that the balance of codices, the internal balance of, like, battle tomes and codices really struggle. Because Games Workshop just keep churning out models. You just look at the Space Marine Codex. It's just tons of models. And they kind of look similar. Sure, okay, there might be differences between the Primaris and the sort of the Firstborn. And sure, aside from the height, honestly, sorry out there, Firstborn fans, but most people would say that they could not tell the difference between a Primaris and a Firstborn if you did not count the height, honestly. And I get it. Like, I prefer the aesthetic of the Firstborn. But, like, really, if push came to shove, like, they don't look that different. A couple of Purity Seals doesn't do it, like, you know? That's why I like the Black Templar. But it's just ultimate. It's because it's reusing sculpts as well, you know? Jessica says, Stormcast now with even more filigree. Exactly, right? Exactly. Charles says, Discourse, there were no miniatures in Avalon Hill games. Everything with these little cardboard squares indicating units, except in Kriegspiel, which was the old Prussian staff war game. Yeah. So it was chits. I actually kind of really like chits, like low-key on the download. I really like chits. Dank Magician says, you could argue all Eldar look the same except for helmets. Yeah, they do. Honestly, this is genuine why I actually really like the Dark Eldar range. I think that the Dark Eldar range is one of the best ranges that Games Workshop have ever done. Like, if you look at the Dark Eldar, there actually isn't a lot of overlap. Like, everything, and I think it's because not enough people play the Dark Eldar. I think, honestly, like, the Dark Eldar basically haven't been aggressively monetized. Look, they've only got 23 new units. That's fine. Honestly, I really like my Dark Eldar. You look at them. You got witches. Okay. They look interesting. What can we see with them? You look at them as an actual unit. They have a bunch of melee weapons and pistols. I get it. They're lightly armored. They look a little bit mobile. They're all running, right? So, okay, they're immobile. What does that tell me if I'm across the table from you? What does this tell me? It tells me that they are mobile, that they are melee, and that they kind of have pistols, right? They're kind of slightly, they're kind of aggressive. Okay, cool. Awesome. You have Kabalite warriors. Okay, let's look at the Kabalite warriors. Oh, they are slightly armored. They're still kind of nimble. They look kind of lithe and elvish. They have weapons and a sergeant there with a little flag. This is your line infantry, isn't it? This is your basic standard. This is your standard troops. Yes, it is. Awesome. So they're gonna try and shoot me at range, right? Cool. All right, no problem. Then what else do we look? What else have we got? Like, what else have we actually got? Well, I know there's the homunculi, the racks. These guys look weird. They're very different. So if you're standing across the table, you've got a squad of witches, a squad of Kabalite warriors, and a squad of racks. I'm not getting confused. I know that they are 3 different units. I know they are 3 different units. You have the Scourges, I know they're different, and you got the Hellions. This is a good miniature range. This is actually all you need. A bunch of different looking units that all do different things. Incredible! Ah! It's actual faction design. How incredible is this? Awesome. This is the best miniature range the Games Workshop do, because each unit has a role and function. Now, there's some overlap, right? The Reavers and the Hellions, you could honestly drop one of those and you wouldn't miss it. Same with the Venom. You could honestly choose, like, Hellions and the Venom, I think, could exist. Drop a Reavers. You don't need them. You don't need them. Like, what do the Reavers do that these two don't, right? Like, fast attack, melee, fast attack, gun platform. Get rid of Reavers. Done. Sorted. I would get rid of them. Bam. Kronos, tanky, buffy guy. Cool. Archon, general. Scourges, fast, can do the jump. Kind of like a mobile gun platform, but can capture points. Sure. The Talos and the Kronos, they're just the same thing, just with different weapons. I've never used them, honestly. And you got the Ravager, the Raider. Now, they both look really similar, is kind of I have a problem with that. I don't like the way they look really similar. But they both use the same kit. So, and they're the only real vehicle that the Dark Eldar come with. I don't like that, though. I think, honestly, the Ravager should look a lot more different. I'm looking at mine over there, and I find it hard to tell them a different from at a glance. The only thing is, I do put all of my dudes on the Raiders. I know loads of people don't do that. I put all my guys on the Raiders. So this is just this is a great miniature range. Contrast that. Let's contrast this miniature range, as I like to call the perfect Games Workshop miniature range. Well, not perfect, but the best. Let's contrast that with a different army. Shall we? So we had 23 for the Drukhari. Just like the little bear says, just right. Let's look at, I don't know, the Space Marines with their 92. Good God. What the hell is this? This is the same unit. Heavy Intercessors. Gone. Right? Let's do it. Let's prune. Let's fucking prune. Because the Space Marines have needed. Okay. Get rid of them. The Heavy Intercessors. No, get rid of them. The Terminators exist, right? So get rid of them. Primaris Eradicators. What the hell do these guys do? Get rid of them. Tactical Squad. Why do these both exist? Like, why are they still selling tactical squads? Like, why? Except for the fact that they still have the sprues. They still have the sprues. And they are just pure profit now at this stage, because the people who designed these games have been paid long ago, and the sculpts themselves paid themselves off, like, back in, when was this sprue made? I don't even know, like 2006, right? Visual design prompt, says Alignment. What are we ranting about now? Yes, we're talking about faction variety and design. We're gonna get rid of the tactical squad. I'm sorry, guys. I know everyone loves it. I prefer the Firstborn too. Firstborn are on the way out. Like, it's inevitable. Like, Games Workshop are working them out. So, they're getting rid of. Because we need one line infantry. We need one line infantry. Gladiator Lancer, I mean, personally, I would get rid of it because I hate it. I don't like the look of the hover vehicles as well. But this is what Space Marines look like, guys. This is not what Space Marines look like. This stays. Assault Intercessors. No, I'm afraid not. So what we're going to do with these guys, right? Because they look exactly like these guys, but they just have a sword, right? There's no visual difference at all. We're going to slap jump packs on the backs of these guys. We're gonna slap a jump pack on them. We're gonna give them different looking armor. Maybe like, I don't know, like spikes or something, like a raven helms. Give them the beaks and like give them like kind of a bird imagery like the Blood Angels have. We're gonna slap jump packs on. We're gonna call them assault jump troopers or whatever the hell. And now they are assault marines. There, we're done. Blade Guard veterans. I don't know. Primaris aggressors. Sure, they can exist. We got rid of the heavy intercessors earlier. Now we got Primaris aggressors. Okay. Primaris hellblasters. Are these just Primaris marines with better weapons? No, just give the weapon sprue, put it in the Primaris intercessor sprue. Done. It's done now. We get rid of that as a separate sale. Storm Raven gunship. Sure, we'll have a flying weapon. The Land Raider. What does the Land Raider do? What does the Gladiator Lancer not... Well, what does the Land Raider do that the Lancer doesn't do? What does it do? Yeah, I agree, William. Hover is lame, but this is what Space Marines look like now. We've just decided. Like, we're now going through, like, this is what the designer has presented to us. They have presented us this. And we've been told by the executives that now all of them have to, this is the new way. This is the new way things are. The Jump Pack Intercessor is going to be a different kit, says Efren. They are, aren't they? It is going to be a different kit. But that's what these guys are going to be. Because this battlefield role... So what is the battlefield role of Intercessors? It used to be a melee force. Like, does that... Why can't these guys... Why can't they... I mean, they're Space Marines. Just give them knives. Surely Space Marines should be good enough to be just melee guys, right? Like, you... Yeah, like, Space Marines, Terminators, Dreadnoughts, says Janitor, prune the rest. Honestly, I think that the old Space Marine style was good. You have your Tactical Marines, right? You've got your Tactical Marines, which are your line infantry, your Jack of all trades, Master of none. Brilliant. You have your Scout Marines, who are your lightly armored, faster, kind of, your recon kind of unit. They can either be equipped with, kind of scouting positions or with snipers. Done. You have your Assault Marines, who are your melee force. Good, you need your melee. And then you got your Terminators, who are your big, heavily armored guys. Who are like your elite of the elite. Good. What the hell's a heavy intercessor? What battlefield rule do the heavy intercessors do that the Primaris intercessors don't? I don't get it. Like, I genuinely don't get Games Workshop faction design anymore. Because it's starting to be clear to me that they're just selling models. They don't get it either. They don't know what they're doing. They're just like, we gotta have new units for this model, you know, or for this new release wave. Like, we need a new release wave. Ingsum says it's not just that they look the same; they are the same, just with other weapons. And yeah, okay, fair enough. That's a big problem. See, because Space Marines have got 92 entries. Space Marines have got 92 entries, but the Dark Eldar have 23. That's the difference. So if you want to play Space Marines, you got the option of 92 different units. And people will tell you to buy one of these and one of that and one of these. But if you're playing Dark Eldar, you buy the one box. You buy your Kabbalite Warriors and you're sorted. That's everything you need. House of the Sail says, battlefield rule, money. Yeah, right? Yeah. But, I mean, it goes beyond that, right? Like, it goes beyond that. Like, this, like, it's bad game design. It obviously serves a commercial purpose. I get that. But it also bleeds consumers of cash, you know? It bleeds consumers of cash. So, somebody comes into Warhammer, and it also kind of sets a bad precedent for the rest of the mini wargaming hobby. Someone comes into Warhammer, they buy into their Space Marines, they see all this choice, and this is stuff they can buy. They start saving up for certain things. While you're busy trying to get... Jeez, good God. Good God, look at this. Look at this ring. What the hell is this? What is this? What is the purpose of half these things? The Stern Guard Veteran Squad. Why do these guys exist? Didn't we already see these guys? Didn't they? Weren't they already? I'm gonna have to do a range review, guys. The Blade Guard Veterans. What? So these guys have got swords and shields and these guys don't? Is that the difference? Like, are the stats... Good God, look at this! Look at this! Primaris Incursors, Primaris Reavers. Why? Why do these exist? I don't understand. Oh God, like I genuinely don't get it. Like I genuinely just don't get it. Like well, okay, that's how I do get it. I understand why they exist. I understand why they exist. I don't like it. Because it's lazy, it's boring, it's bad. And so I can't help but think this stuff. When people are like, Games Workshop create the best models in the world, I can't help but think, like, I can't help but look at the Primaris Incursors and the Primaris Reavers and think, do they? Like, what's so special, you know? I will say, though, I'm being a little bit unfair, because I am using the Space Marines, which are, without a doubt, the most bloated force out of all of them, out of every single faction. One of the things that I actually was, whenever I was doing a range review, or not a range review, but I was picking out my favorite models of every single faction. And I think I prefer the Chaos range, honestly, to the Space Marine range. I mean, look at this. That these two honestly need two different kits. That they really need two different kits. These guys and these guys. Can anyone honestly look at these two and think, yeah, that makes sense? This is why. This is for the monopose. This is why monopose exists, right? Because you can do this. You can create these guys and go, oh, but we didn't give them all the options that they could personally take. We gotta make another product that people will have to buy, and then they sell this. But these are the same thing. Like, these are the same thing. And a good company would have made them. A good company, a good design team, right? A good designer would have said, so what is the purpose of the Primaris Reavers? Oh, they can hook into things and get the positions really easily. Like, they're good scouts, okay? So what's different between the Primaris Reavers and the Incursors? The Reavers have knives and guns, and the Incursors have mines and guns. And a good designer would have said, do we need either of those things? Like, does the Space Marine faction require mines or knives? Like, does the Space Marine faction require this battlefield role to be fulfilled? Does it? And the answer is probably not, to be honest. And look at all, and then the vehicles, right? Then the vehicles. I don't know. Are they the same kit? Because I wouldn't be surprised if they were. I honestly don't know. Because they should be. Like, they 100% should be the same kit. And if they're not the same kit, why the hell are they sold like this on the website? Let's look at the spruce. Let's find out. Let's find out. So here we go. We got you might be right, because they're only showing me like this. So we got this. Got a bunch of legs. Bunch of legs. Are they the same kit? They're a dual kit. Right. Okay. Good. Good. But why are they sold like this? There's a Devastator squad in the middle. There's a little Devastator squad trapped in the middle. Reavers are a separate kit, I'm being told. My Raven Guard all love Phobo. Alright. Edmund with the donation, thank you so much. I joined your Discord and waited an hour. Still won't let me post. Says, do not share server. What is that about? Says Edmund. I'm not 100% sure, Edmund. Honestly, I'm not sure. I see you here. I'm not sure. I will check. I will, alignment, if you wouldn't mind, if you're there. Double checking for Edmund there. Double checking for that. Edmund's account. I'm not too sure, honestly. It's written in the description at the bottom. Okay, let's see. Let's check. Let's check. This kit contains 2 identical frames, each containing 5 models, which can be built as infiltrators or incursors. Okay. So, Reavers. Wait, hold on. Okay, wait. Infiltrators or incursors. So, not Reavers. Right, so we've got incursors. Oh, God. So, this happened with... I bought these to make my Gobbo Clown. Because I was told to make... I had to make the Boingrot... The Boingrot binders I had to make. And I was like, what the hell? Where the hell are the Boingrot binders? And it turned out it was the same box as the Squig Hoppers. It's very confusing. So maybe it's the same thing as well. The Primaris Incursors. Like, why not do a slash? Right, so the Infiltrators are also the Incursors kit. So there's 3 of these guys running around. So, hold on. So there's the Reavers, there's the Incursors, and the Infiltrators? Oh... That's even worse. Oh no. Here they are. Oh no. So there's 3 different types of these guys. Oh, this is absurd. Come on. This is absurd. I don't like this, guys. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like this. I've never really delved into the Space Marine kits that much because I don't play Space Marines. I don't play Space Marines. Honestly, I kind of actively ignore everything that happens with Space Marines, and I don't play against Space Marines either. I know that most people's experience of Warhammer 40k is just Space Marine, Space Marine, Space Marine, but no one I play against plays Space Marines. The closest one I play against a Custodes player is the closest thing I have to playing against Space Marines. I honestly don't play against Space Marines very often. And I'm always shocked when I hear about a lot of Space Marine stuff, honestly. It's just ridiculous to me. So I just think it's bad faction design. And I think it pervades a lot of Warhammer stuff. See, I come from video games, right? I come from video games. And in video games, you couldn't get away with this. You know? Like, if you were playing StarCraft... and there was like Primaris Intercessors and Heavy Intercessors, people would be like, this is really bad design. I can't tell these apart at a glance. That's really bad. I want to be able to look across the table and just instantly recognize what my opponent has. I don't want to go, hey buddy, could you pull out your book and tell me what type of unit that is? Like, I don't want that. I want to be able to tell at a glance. The only excuse are historical games. Because you don't have any control over historical games. And it's actually one of my big problems with the historical games is that all the soldiers kind of look the same, you know? Unless they're kind of specific uniforms. But within the factions, they all kind of look the same. The only difference is like what they're wielding. Which is why Horus Heresy to me is not a solution, really. I'm not like, the Horus Heresy isn't quite doing it for me either. Because then everybody just looks the same. They're all just Space Marines. With a different sword, you know, with a different weapon. Like, I genuinely think that the Dark Eldar have nailed it. That's how I want all my factions to look. I want the battlefield rule to be firmly displayed in the actual aesthetic, in the design of the model. Andre with a donation, thank you so much. Rage discourse is the best discourse. Maybe I don't want to rage. I don't like raging. I like being passionate about fun things. I don't like being passionate about asking Games Workshop to like please take a design, like a couple of lessons in design, and also please stop releasing new products. Just give us a minute, some breathing, please. Yeah, so Charles says there is no design, there's make up new units as they go. Yeah, and I agree. It's why I was kind of happy not for there to be any new units for the Dark Eldar, honestly. I was kind of happy for that not to be the case. Okay, so Powerhouse of the Cell, thank you so much for the donation. Has come in to clear the air. Okay, thank you so much. Right, so basically the Reavers were from the first batch of Primaris, and they were a separate kit. Then Incursors/Infiltrators are a later addition, and they have the same kit, which comes packaged for either unit. Well, thank you so much for clearing that. And that makes sense, right? Because like Space Marines didn't wake up one day and appear like this. Like, if you played Dawn of War in 2004, which is kind of how I still imagine Space Marines, sorry. There was like tactical Marines, right? And there was the jump pack troopers, and there was scouts, and there was the Devastator squads, and that was like it. Like, that was it. And honestly, like, do Space Marines need much more? But thank you so much for the donation, Powerhouse. Thank you for clearing that. What is Dawn of War, says Piotr. Dawn of War is a real-time strategy game that is playable on the PC that is Warhammer 40k. Dawn of War, it's like a base building game. You're like trying to capture points, and you can play as the Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, Orcs, Eldar. Then there's an expansion that adds the Imperial Guard, which was awesome. Then there is Dark Crusade, which adds the Necrons and the Tau. And then finally there is Soulstorm, which was a controversial expansion that added Sisters of Battle and the Dark Eldar. And the old Dark Eldar that do not look good in my opinion. But I feel honestly, like, I mean, there's so much of this that it's just bloated, you don't need it. Like, you just honestly don't need it. And I know that people collect Space Marine armies, and I know they have loads of these models, and they really love them, and I get that. Like, I totally get that. And Games Workshop are in a kind of unenviable position, right? This is why this happens. Because Games Workshop are in the position of, 1, lots of people have bought these models. 2, Games Workshop want to sell new models to those people. So what do? They make more models. They make new units. They create new battlefield rules and build units for that battlefield rule. But they don't want to get rid of the old ones because they know people will be annoyed about having lost access. Like, their collection will no longer be relevant. But I only have limited sympathy for Games Workshop here because they kind of got themselves into this mess. I mean, it's their fault that their Nash City was 92 entries for Space Marines. And obviously, many of these units are redundant. And Games Workshop have not stopped selling them. So I don't really have, like, a ton of sympathy. I understand why it's here. I understand why this has occurred. But I don't have, like, a lot of sympathy. How can I forget the Terminators? No, oh, yes, of course, the Terminators. Yes, sure, yeah. And Terminators have an important role, right? They have an important role. My God, they still sell assault squads. What the hell is the point in these guys? I mean, like, what? Oh, here's some Space Marines that kind of hover. Well, what the hell's the Storm Talon for? It looks like it hovers. Why? I can't handle it. I honestly can't handle it. It makes me lose my mind. It really does. Gravis armor is kind of beyond me. It feels like an excuse to sell a new Terminator captain you can't really customize. I was quite fond of the old captain box. There's so much in it. No one has bought Reavers because they always sucked. Yeah, well. So, yeah, okay. So this was interesting. I didn't mean to talk about this today. I mean, we've strayed very far from the original topic of skirmish war games, what we expect to see next week. And, but here we are. Yeah, now we're talking about Space Marine design and why it fucking sucks. Why Games Workshop are really bad at designing factions and are actually probably some of the worst in the industry. Yeah, and this is obviously before we get into, like, this madness. Look at this. Like, obviously a lot of these are just this stuff reiterated, right? Like, a lot of these are just that, but, like, good God. Like, you look at the core faction. You look at the bloat. You look at the redundancies here, the things that shouldn't exist. You go, why? Why does this exist to all of this? And then you go up here and you see this, and you're like, good God, what do the Black Templars have then? Like, all of the battlefield rules and then some are fulfilled here multiple times. What in the name of God could the Black Templars have that is worth even fielding them? And it's not just Space Marines. It's not just Space Marines, you know? The Custodies aren't as bad like this. The Custodies suffer from a different problem. Because we got on the Space Marines, we started talking about redundancies and sort of battlefield rules. But with the Custodies, they suffer from the problem of they do have a limited amount of battlefield rules, but all their units look the same. They all look the same, which is a massive problem. You're looking for a reason where perhaps no reason exists. Hashtag Zinch, says Paul. Thank you so much, Paul, for the donation. I really appreciate that. I think you're probably right. Honestly. See, this is kind of my problem with the Custodies as well. I play against Custodies, so I know them a bit more, but a lot of them look very similar, you know? Also, the Games Workshop website sucks. It's good for actually looking at the models. I think they make that really good. I think that's a really good part. But it hangs a lot. It hangs. It hangs. So you're looking for a reason, perhaps no reason exists. Hashtag sense. I mean, yeah, I think there's definitely, I think a lot of it is done because you got to remember, like, Warhammer is so old now, relatively, right? Like, for a miniature war game. So there's been like a lot of iterations, been like a lot of designs, and they don't really rotate much stuff out, which is good in one sense because it's still available. But I feel like there should be like a section called Legends or something. Like, why not do like a section called Legends where it's older models that are no longer used in the books, really, and they're still bought, but they're explicitly bought as kind of, and it's made very clear that they're not in the current edition of Warhammer. That if you want to play an older version of Warhammer, then you can play with those. Maybe normalize the idea of playing older versions of Warhammer. Like I said, I'm thinking about building a 4th edition army soon. Right? I'm thinking about building a 4th edition army soon. Zinch has plans with implants, says Waffles Enjoy. Zinch does indeed have plans with implants. Right? Like, where we're looking for perhaps no reason exists. There is a reason, it's just we cannot comprehend. It's beyond our mortal ken. Beyond our mortal ken. Void Beast says, I love Ultramarines, but honestly, I feel Marines wouldn't look so same if they changed the paint schemes of chapters for sample units on those boxes. Maybe so. I mean, I don't mind them taking, like, a single color scheme and giving them a coherent look, even if they're not all Space Marines. Purim says, thank you very much for the donation. The $5 donation says, bloat happens to every game that tries to be a forever game. I agree with you. So I do think this is definitely a problem. Certainly, right? Because it's kind of like the live service model where they're going to constantly be trying to sell you something new, try to keep you up to date. They're going to be trying to keep you up to date. I get it. They want to keep monetizing the players. Like, I understand. Like, I do get that. But let me tell you, I'm just happy that my carrier sitting here with only 23 units. I really am. I got everything I need here. I got my line infantry. I got my melee infantry. I got my transport. I got my gun platform. I got my fast attack. I got my Hellions. I got my weird racks who are good at standing on positions and taking a beating. I don't need much more else than this. Like, this honestly is enough for me. And I really hope that they don't get expanded, because what else do they need, right? Like, they're building, they're giving redundancy to armies, like, they should be thinking about factions, what factions should be doing that are unique. But yeah, this happens with every game, and I know that people don't like this idea, and this might actually get me a ton of flack. But I do think that some units should be rotated out. I don't think that every single Space Marine unit should be playable. Not in the current version edition of Warhammer. I think rotated into Legends. Keep the game actually, good. The big problem with that, obviously, is that people have massive collections. But, like, I mean, for example, if you say Tactical Marines can count that as Primaris, like, I don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't have an issue with that at all. Carrioff says, hello, Carrioff, says, a 4th edition army when 3rd is right there. Oh, dude, no. 4th edition, to me, 4th edition is the sweet stuff for sure. The sweet stuff for sure. 4th edition that's my baby. Like, that's where I first played Warhammer. I got in at the very, very tail end of 3rd, but I played 4th edition, really, and I want my Witch Hunter 4th edition codex. I really do. So yeah, 4th edition is the bomb. It is the bomb. Festus says, I'm currently playing 2nd edition and building a 3,000 point army. It's really not that many models, so I have to choose my army build very wisely. Very good, yeah. Very good. Pixie says, I like the idea of going 4E, 4K, but I have, I like the idea of going 4th edition 40K, that I have 5 750 1,000 point armies collected, including a Witch Hunter army, then decided I'm probably better off getting out of the GW ecosystem, but I got plenty to paint. Yeah, no, Pixie, that's totally fair. Hello, Pixie, by the way. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think because we were talking about the 4th edition, army. Yeah, I mean, I get you. See, I kind of have the beginnings. I have like the beginnings of a Witch Hunter force from those days, because I have my old Inquisitor, I have my old Sisters of Battle, I have a bunch of my Imperial Guard, but I do love the idea of getting a bunch of Cawdor for sure. But yeah, I don't actually indulge in the GW ecosystem as much anymore. Really, honestly, I don't. Stratosteric says, dang, so late. Have a like and I'll see you next time. Bye, Stratosteric. No problem at all. Thanks. They squatted him. Jump packs for Chaos Lords are no more. I saw about that. I did hear about that. Dan says, I would rather Marines left all the religious iconography out. Primaris have way too much reliquaries and whatnot for atheists. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really take much of a stance on all of that because these are my boys here. And they sort of, They I don't really buy into the to I don't really buy into the atheist space marines. I like me some crazy chaplains. I like me some fella carrying a big banister with an imperial sigil on it for no good reason other than just the contrition of doing so. That's the bomb for me. God, look at this art though. This is actually incredible. Like this is like so pretty. Like this is art. Like, this is art. I should put on my little blonde wig and my turtleneck and be like, this is art. But what I mean by that is this is gorgeous. Like, absolutely beautiful. I love this freehanding. And it reminds me of so many of those kind of 80s style art. I just love it. I really wish I could paint like this. I really do wish I could paint like this. But I can't paint this without it looking really bad, so... There we are. I can't paint the leather apron without it looking really bad. Symbiote Mullet with the donation of £5. Thank you so much. How long do you think it'll be before Games Workshop start making mashups of their side games like Gorka Marker, Kill Waste, and Mordhulk for fun and profit? Gorka Munda, yeah. Yeah, so I guess Ash Waste are kind of Gorka Morka, but in Necromunda. I've never thought of it this way. Right now we're getting the Space Hulk kill team, maybe, for sure. What is it then? Yeah, so what is it? What's next? Mordheim and what? Mordheim and what? Mord Bowl? You gotta collect the warp stone and tackle each other into the ground to get it. Well, funny enough, so there is a system called Open Combat. I talked about it in my UKGE video, and that is basically Blood Bowl, but in a skirmish war game. Maybe new Mordheim is gonna be using the tackle rules, where if you roll a 1, you fumble and play passes to your opponent. If you roll a 6, you down them, and if you roll a 1, if you roll a 2, 3, or 4, you just give a push. Maybe then, huh? Oh, that'd be kind of interesting. There we go. Maybe that's it. GW Planning Legacy 40k. Have you tried Warhammer 40k? Now you can try Warhammer 40k 0. We heard your concerns. Now you can buy Warhammer 40k Classic. $, premium rice. Yeah, so I think I thought, so whenever they released, if you recall, they released the 3rd edition of Warhammer Starter Box again. But they didn't release the rules. They just released like the actual miniatures from the old Dark Eldar and the old Space Marines. And I think they should have released a rulebook as well. I think they should have done, like, just went all in and just released the 3rd edition rulebook again. But they don't really want you playing older editions. But I do think that maybe, like with 10th edition, we might see a resale of some of those older editions. Maybe, right? Maybe. I mean, what is Horus Heresy if not just 7th edition resold again, you know? And they do sell Rogue Trader Warhammer World. They do sell it there. The whole original Rogue Trader stick was that they were essentially warrior monks / crusaders / Templars. The whole Imperium was originally a pastiche of the Catholic Church. Yeah, well, they were originally knights. They were knights originally, if I recall correctly. Or rather, they were an excuse to use a lot of the heraldry, I think. But in terms of the lore, they were just guys who were like enforcers, you know, in like the original Rogue Trader. If I recall correctly. It's been like a while since I've read up on a lot of this stuff. That banner is actually embossed, so not 100% freehand. It's not. Oh. Why can't you let my dreams be dreams? Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I honestly thought someone had painted this. Because there are painters out there who could paint that. Like, that are good enough to paint that. For sure. Like, for sure. Soon they will release 50k, just resell new models. Maybe, Andre. Maybe. Okay, so this got out of hand. This is not what I expected to talk about today at all. Every time y'all pull me in. Look at those tiny, small little pots. Small little pots. Not a fan of that. Look, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm gonna have to call it there. I actually planned on only making this a short one, only 2 hours, and then you got me in for like 3 hours, guys. But thank you so much for joining me. I had a ton of fun chatting with you guys. I really did. I do this every 2 weeks. And if you are interested in seeing more live content from me, if you go to twitch.tv/discoursegames, I am streaming on Twitch every few nights. I stream like some video games there. So join me there if you wanna like get more live content in. But otherwise, I do this every 2 weeks, guys. It has been a ton of fun. Thanks again to everyone who donated, everyone who joined the YouTube memberships. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I never got to say half the stuff I wanted to talk about in the Skirmish games. I really didn't. We went off on this wild ride about the Space Marines. But thank you so much, everybody. I really did have a ton of fun, and I hope you all have a lovely week. Yes, Pixie, I'll see you again soon. I hope you all have a lovely week, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. My next video comes out on Tuesday. Fingers crossed if it gets edited. And I will catch you all next time, everybody. It's been a real pleasure. I'm not going to Twitch, John. I am going to sleep, maybe, because I have been recording all week. Maybe I'll watch a wee horror movie before I go to sleep. Maybe I'll watch a wee horror movie. Thank you so much. I'm not always this ranty, but sometimes I just get set off.